Happy Friday, guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk Dubs. I'm your host, Bill T. Well, it's Friday. You know what that means. Another podcast coming out. And this one's hot out the chute. Wrapped it up yesterday with my boy, Walter Jelinek. And it's been a great time interviewing him. It's a long podcast. It's a good podcast. But listen, sometimes when you're talking to one of the guys in the scene in Germany that's really heavily influential, is always on the cutting edge, debuting really cool, unique cars, and starts a lot of the trends, and he sees things, and he really pushes the envelope with trying to do the things that he's really into over there. It's definitely not a short conversation, and I know you guys like him when we really get down in the weeds about stuff. But Walter's been a guy that's been in the scene for a long time. I actually met him at Kurt's place in the Netherlands, a big MP collection over there, and we got to talking. And he's got a million stories. You're familiar with his cars if you've seen Volkswagens at all. He's had a few cars featured here in the U.S., but he's definitely a guy that does his own thing, marches to his own drum, and he definitely has an eye for uniqueness and quality. That's no question at all about that. So it was great getting to chat with him. There's been just so much he's been involved with, from one of the first cow look bugs that was in Germany, that was like a 12-second bug, right? Close ratio trans, the whole nine, ticked all the boxes in the early 2000s. And then to one of the first patina looker logo buses, kind of kicking off that trend in the UK, with the Lindy Bus you may be familiar with, that was later sold to Type 2 detectives. After that, he goes on to build Caramba and a slider door 21 window. I mean, there's so much stuff that he's bringing to the table. I mean, up to the point where he, had a shop with 15 guys at one point, and then decides to pull back and take a break from the scene, which I know a lot of you guys in the scene are kind of get wound up about that. After a while, you need to take a break, and that's what he did. And then shortly thereafter, you can never get away. The scene drags you back. So he's back. He's back in action again. He actually manufactures, and check the link in the description below. I'll leave links to some videos that he was in. I'll leave links to Razor Skin. If you guys are out there doing your Type 34 Gias, he makes some super high quality reproduction lower rocker panels for your Type 34s. So if that's the guy, if that's what you're looking for, and I know my guy in Ohio is looking for the James Sofer. I know he's looking for some rockers, man. So this guy builds the best stuff out there when it comes to those reproduction parts. He's, really a guy that's super, super committed to quality, and you can see that if you go give him a follow on his Instagram at the BUG Box. I'll check it out. I'll leave links in the description below for all that stuff, but it's a great time. I'm looking forward to having you guys hear this podcast. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to getting over there and breaking bread with the guy and checking some stuff out in Germany. I'm really excited to go see one of the Atwater buses. Let's listen, bro. I'm a little German today, so let's get into it. But before we get started, don't forget to support our sponsors, VW Trends Magazine, a magazine for the people. Check it out today. Not the same old stuff. Tons of awesome content, how-tos, features that you're not going to get in any other magazine. A lot of show coverage this particular issue. I mean, you've got everything from vintage stuff to Fridlands to stuff all over. Definitely go subscribe today, VWTrendsMagazine.com. That's VWTrendsMagazine.com. Matter of fact, to tie this back to VW Trends, Walter's first, one of his magazines that stuck with him is the same one that stuck with me. See if you can figure out what year and month it is, and don't forget to send me a message on that. But I'm sure you guys have heard me yap about it before. And don't forget to go support Ross Wolf, talking about high quality aftermarket parts built for enthusiasts by enthusiasts. So they're constantly coming up with new things, higher quality stuff every time. Making things that they've got 356 coolers, like upgraded coolers for your 356 motor. So they're kind of going down a little bit of 356 hot rod path. So check them out today if you guys want some cool braided wires, cloth wrapped performance wires for your Type 1 motor, for your 36, 1600 or 2276, whatever you want, they got it. So go check them out today at rosswolf.com. So, well, I'm excited to bring it to you guys. I do have a little bit of announcements. I have a shout out I want to appreciate Scott Tricomo out of Applegate, California, for supporting the podcast. Picked up some merch. That shot out to you this week. I threw a couple, some stickers and a poker chip. So a little extra something for you guys that support the podcast. I appreciate all you guys. I had a message someone sent me with respect to One Crazy Weekend this year. And they said, hey, is there trailer parking? Is there trailer parking? There's so much freaking trailer parking. All a convoy could show up and have plenty of parking. So don't worry about that. It's secured trailer parking for you guys at One Crazy Weekend. So drag them and bring them from wherever and however. And don't forget, One Crazy Weekend is happening October 2nd through the 4th this year. It is not too early to book your rooms. Go to letstalkdubs.com and book your rooms today before they sell out. Don't be that guy that's at some other event bumming out that you're not at One Crazy Weekend. So go get One Crazy Weekend locked in. Also, I had Rhett reach out to me from Australia, and he said, Billy, just listen to the latest episode. The Aussie market has been flooded with Brazilian and Indonesian VWs, all similar, third world quality. Anyway, he says, I noted you mentioned a big indoor show on the East Coast. He's currently planning the largest indoor VW event ever in Australia. It's the first of its kind, space for over 250 cars, 150 already pre-registered. Giving them a shout out. That event is called Dub Freeze. So you guys make sure you go check out Dub Freeze today and get registered. If you guys are in Australia, you're listening to me, go check out Dub Freeze. Don't get left out in the cold, bro. Go to Dub Freeze. Get it? Don't get left out in the cold. So check them out, Dub Freeze, and I'll get their. I'll put a link for the description for that car show in Australia down in the description below. Also, a reminder to you guys, I'm going to be in Niagara Falls June 21st for the Niagara German Air Car Show and Social. So you guys want to come check it out? You're up there in the Northeast area. I see you guys cross the border. Come over, bring your VWs out. Let's make this event bigger than it's ever been. Let's do a huge cruise. They're doing a cruise on Saturday, show on Sunday. So make sure you guys check that out if you can. Also, Viva Skeg Vegas in the UK. I'm going to be there in August. So I'll leave a link in the description below for Viva Skeg Vegas. If you guys are in the UK, listen to the podcast, come check us out. We'll be interviewing people there live at Viva Skeg Vegas. Also, after that, I'll be back in town, then back out of town, headed to the Air Mighty show, doing the Cowlook cruise from Aberdeen to the Netherlands. Tons of stuff going on this year. I'm excited to be able to get with you guys, share some of that stuff. Check out the YouTube channel, always publishing updated videos. I do have the last Cowlook cruise video that I got to get put out. I've just been slacking with the podcast, everything else, and life. You know what I mean? So it is what it is, guys. We're getting it out to you, and hopefully you appreciate it. But let's get into it, guys. Without any further ado, Walter Jelinek with the Bug Box in Germany on this week's Let's Talk Dubs.
You probably don't know that there's a new Volkswagen out that doesn't look like a Volkswagen. It's got everything that people who like the bug like.
A restoration shop in Weiden, Bavaria, Germany. So on today's podcast, we're going to get Walter Jelinek from the Bug Box. Walter, welcome to the show.
Hello, Bill. Nice to be on your show, on your podcast.
Great to have you. So we met, I think the first time we met face-to-face was at Kurt's Collection in the Netherlands during the Cowlook cruise.
That's right. That's right.
And we had my good friend Andy, who owns Spikes Vintage Restorations, was getting parts from you, metal pieces from you for my razor, for Zorba the Gia. So that's kind of what you do. You've got a long storied history that goes quite a while, and primarily your shop now is you do restorations for people there in Weiden or in Bavaria, right? And
that's right. Yeah.
The way we always start the podcast is, what's your VW story and how did you get into Volkswagens?
In Germany, you do your driver's test at 17, and then you're allowed to drive at 18, or back in the day. And the question was, as I had no funds and I was going to school and study later. The question was, what kind of vehicle do I want to drive? And my grandfather said he's going to buy me a car. Um, before that, before I actually bought a car, the first 2 or 3 couple of months, I drove my dad's Suzuki Jeep, LG80,
Oh yeah.
Elliott, pretty rare in Germany, only like gray imported. Um, and and then my parents said, "What about a Golf, a Rabbit, or a Polo, or something like that?" And I said, "No, no. There's a red Beetle at the Nissan dealership, or Datsun at the time, and that's way cooler because young people at the time had mostly newer cars and not an old Volkswagen Beetle."
Yeah.
I was kind of focused on a Beetle because one of my friends from school, he's 1 year older than me. He already had a Beetle and he converted it into a topless car. They called this conversion speedsters, not like a 356 speedster, but like more like a Hepmuller style
Right.
speedster. And you could buy fiberglass kits and then convert your own car. And I found this pretty interesting. And then through this guy, Sam, we got the first VW Trans magazine.
Oh yeah.
That's like in 85, 6 so. And then we saw what could be done to Volkswagens. But we also knew we are living not in California or in the US. We're living in Germany, and we have far stricter rules than you guys have. So
Yeah.
everything I've done from that point was always kind of, or most of the times, following the German law.
Oh, because
So it's much more difficult to customize
so
and do things to your cars. Yeah.
so when you're looking at VW Trends magazine, which by the way, do you remember what was on the cover of that magazine?
I remember one of the first ones was the lipstick colored ragtop with
Yeah.
that black dressed lady
Oh yeah. Yeah.
on the side. She was wearing a black hat, like a
Yeah.
Spanish
Yeah. That's
kind of thing.
the November '87 issue, if I'm not mistaken. We
Yeah,
just
I think that's the one. Maybe there was one earlier, but we also, we have one of the biggest army camps not far from here, 30 minutes from here, outside the U.S. Grafenwöhr,
uh-huh.
familiar to many Americans, and then through some soldiers there, we got J.C. Whitney catalogs
Oh
and
really?
and Trans magazine, and that was the source, and they ordered us parts on their PO box, and 1835 piston cylinders and stuff like that later. But we also had one friend one soldier who was cruising through my hometown Weiden occasionally, in his bug, and his nickname was Doc, and it was a it was a flared fendered Beetle. In the end, the last time I saw him, I have a picture. He had like Testarossa style side pods
Nice.
on the car, and like deep dish, 12 by 15 inch rear, stuff like that. And that was the thing that got everything rolling car wise. But I think the first time, but we'll talk about it later, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
because that's one of the reasons that uh, we were talking about up front. Is when I was 11, I did my first car deal. I sold a Revell RC model cheap to my neighbor to buy the brand new Tamaya sand scorcher
Yeah.
when I was 11 years old. And that, I think, started the whole thing because the first meetings we attended, I was always looking on bars and nothing else. I wanted a Baja. I never built one. 30 years later, I did.
So
Yeah.
that was kind of the impetus for building the Sand Scorcher replica, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
so when you first get that Baja, the Tamiya Sand Scorcher, you're kind of geared already in your head, like you think Bajas are super cool, and obviously there's not You can't build a Baja in Germany, can you?
You can. Well, you can build anything, but the question is, do you get it on the road?
Right.
That's a big question. But in the 80s, there was a company in Hamburg, I think called Kühn, and they sold Baja kits and had the paperwork to register them or to make them street legal. If you follow certain, you need mud flaps and you need additional lights in the front if you have a bug-eye Baja. But it was more easy to have a streaker, a wide-eye body kit, but I never liked them, and I don't like them today because the the Tamaya sand scorcher was not a wide-eye, and that's what I wanted to have.
And so the first car that so when do you transition into like realizing that you're going to work on Volkswagens or you're going to start building cars?
Well, in '87, we went. There were a couple of friends of mine owning Beetles. That one friend that got me into it, and then we rent a small old workshop or bigger garage where we work on our cars. And the first thing we did, take the bumpers off to make it Kellogg. We didn't know what Kellogg is, but for us, bumpers off and lower the car was Kellogg. We didn't know how to lower. But then we went to the first big meeting in '87 in Munich. It was called Europatreffen. And I believe there were like 3,000 or 3,500 vintage Volkswagens, all sorts of styles and top chops and all that. And we only saw in magazines, and now we see it in real life. And it gave me so much inspiration. A lot of Bajas, but then I met a later friend who sadly passed away a couple of years ago, Markus Menz, and he did the German version of the CC Top Chop.
Oh, really?
The original CC Top Beetle was a convertible, and his was a Top Chop Beetle, but with the same artwork, with this drop on the front. And I ran into him, and he had a Top Chop car, and I was like stopped in my tracks, and I said, "Well, we're gonna do something like that next week," So we started the first attempt building a custom Beetle, except for taking off the bumpers on my Mexican Beetle,
right,
was a 65 Top Chop, and then it never worked out. But we did my friend's car at the same time, better base car, a 59, and this car still exists. We finished in maybe 89 or 90 years.
Yeah.
So this was like heaven, and I was walking around. I saw Sprint Story. I didn't know what it is,
Yeah.
But at that time, many cars were painted like in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
So bright colors, bright yellow, bright pink, bright green, turquoise, and all that.
Now, you mentioned a Mexican Beetle. Did you own a Mexican Beetle there in Germany?
Yeah, a 79. Mm-hmm.
And
they were imported until '86. The last one was the Jubilee, the anthracite gray car in '86, and then Volkswagen did not import, but you could get some cars through dealers who privately imported them from.
And which year was your
Mexico.
first Beetle?
A 79 and then a 65.
So you had the 79 Mexican Beetle was your first Beetle?
Mm-hmm. Moss red. Mm-hmm.
And it was, now when you would buy them from Mexico, because like in Germany, you could buy a standard Beetle or a deluxe Beetle. And here in the States, all we got was deluxe Beetle. So we don't know the standard Beetle, stuff like that. It's the same for the Mexican Beetles there too, correct?
I don't know. It was not the standard. I mean, the 79 Mexican Beetles, I'd say it was already hard for Volkswagen to sell the cars. So they were, when you bought them new, maybe there were a lot of special models like the Sunny Bug or the Silver Bug or the ice blue. My girlfriend has a one of the the ones with the flower on the side.
Right.
I don't know if you're familiar with that. A velvet red, they were called, with the velvet interior. So it was always something special and like a better model than before.
Yeah.
So in '79 we only had the Mexican Beetle and we did not know any difference. But I bought it as a 9-year-old car already, so
and
it was already an old car.
and it had, and this car had a 1600 and all that in it, or it had a 1200?
No, no. Drum brakes, 34 horsepower,
Really?
1200 cc. Yeah.
So how long? I mean, did the Beetle come with a 1600 in Germany, or it always came with a 1200?
Yes, before the Mexican.
So the Mexican Beetles
After
were 1200
or
cc's.
the Super Beetles and the 1302. I mean the 1302 and the 1303 Super Beetles had 34, 44, and 50 horsepower.
Got it.
1200. The 44 was a 1300
Right.
and the 1600 engine. And the convertible you could only buy as a 1650 horsepower.
Very cool. Now, when you start getting into doing like restoration work, stuff like that, you're helping your buddy with his car and you're doing some pulling the bumpers off your Mexican Beetle, stuff like that. Like, when do you transition, or what work are you doing until you evolve into doing Volkswagen work full time?
I was studying architecture.
Oh, really?
Hmm.
And then you're working Volkswagens on the side with your friends, and you're into the custom
Yes,
hobby.
I did my own cars, and we are three guys sharing a workshop and doing our own custom stuff. And then I decided in well, we this is before internet. Okay, it's hard to believe,
Yeah.
that today you go online and you buy anything you want. And but in the beginning, we bought, and we didn't know about rust-free cars in Italy or in Spain or in the US, we didn't know, right? But we had some cool cars that the American soldiers left when they went back to the US, and many had vintage Volkswagens here because they liked it in the 80s.
Right.
But they didn't import the cars back to the US because they bought them here and then they left them. So we found good rust-free or almost rust-free cars at the junkyards or in the army camps, and for cheap. And there were notchbacks and all kinds of stuff. Nobody wanted a Type 3 back then. We only bought a Type 3 because of the brake calipers.
Right.
Really, it's no joke. Engine and brake calipers, and then the rest we gave to the junkyard.
You just trash it.
Say it again.
I said you just junk the rest of the car.
Yeah, we just junked the rest of the car.
Good
Many
grief.
good cars. So every weekend on Saturday, I opened the newspaper, and I was going through the Volkswagen or the used car section, looking for Beetles, and I bought everything that I thought would be interesting. And then if the base car was rusty, I dismantled the cars and kept the parts and used for my own car, or took a box of smaller parts to the show in summer, to the meetings, and that paid for my weekend, right?
Right.
At that time, I had a 65 with a crafted in rack top, and a rack top at that time, you went to the junkyard, you cut it off, was like 10 Deutschmarks or 20 maybe.
Really?
Long hood, really. Every weekend we went on Saturday, we cut off roofs and brought them back, and I sold this stuff, and it became a side business. And then I said, okay, why not looking for a bigger workshop, and then maybe register a company, which I did on April 1st in '94.
So since
And
since '94, you've been in business just in Volkswagens.
yeah, as a shop, as professional,
Under the name
self-employed.
the BUG Box since then.
Yeah.
Nice. And
So
your goal was what? Sell parts, do restorations, a little bit of everything.
it was a little bit a little bit of fun. There was a lot of fun and a lot of friends I made through, like, everybody all of us did. We make our friends through Volkswagen, through the community, and that was the same back in the day with no mobile phones, no internet. We went to shows, to drag races, and I sold parts, and then uh, I got into restoration through the best friend of my dad, who bought a ragtop oval, and he said, "You can weld. Can you fix my car? Can you restore my car?" So I restored the oval. After that, I restored him a '65 combi that he bought from a airfield. That was the Follow Me bus. These cars are still out there and still driving.
Yeah.
Um, so a word of mouth, you know, business, and more people came, and then I had my first employee, and we did a frill-in with the Samba roof, and many other interesting things. So the business grew, and I was in a small village where, well, through the business and through our clubs, I met Mario from Tat3 headquarter,
Yeah.
and his friend, and we're like, he's a little younger than me, but they rent the barn next to my shop, and so we became friends in the early mid 90s,
And
and
and at this
I,
time,
u- I
are you getting any cars featured in the magazines or anything?
not before. Well, we had some features with, like, the shop or in the background, but I didn't know people from. Well, I knew people from magazines, but um, uh, that came later
Yeah.
through uh, Volkswagen Speed magazine and Volkswagen. This was like 98, 99 when it really speeded up, and when we became popular in Germany and Europe mostly.
Now, what was it that kind of pushed your popularity over the edge? Was it the feature on the sand scorcher, or what was it?
The Lindy Bus, I would say.
Now,
You
what?
know this thing?
Yeah, what did you call it? The Linda Bus?
Yeah.
Like,
It's the best known split window bus, I think, in the world. It was the first red look car in Europe. It's a dove blue panel with the Linde sign writing on the side, and it was like the first red look and the first really slammed bus here in Europe. Um,
yeah,
I
what year do you bring that out? What year do you bring out now it's Lindy?
Linde bus, yeah,
Yeah, Lindy.
99 maybe. Yeah.
So in '99, you kind of you go. What
It
possessed
was in
you?
Volkswagen. It was in Volkswagen, and the feature was called the chocolate box, I think.
The chocolate
And
box.
there was the chocolate box, yeah, because there's a chocolate brand called Lind, and Ivan McCutcheon thought it's the same, but it's not. It was Linde is a gas company, and they're making co- uh, like what you call it,
Like
cooling.
range tops,
Say it again.
a gas company. So, they make like air conditioning.
Yeah, but huge worldwide business, right?
Right.
So they make cooling rooms for like butchers and all that stuff back in the day. And the car was found in a backyard in Vienna by a friend of mine in the mid '90s, by my friend Ernst Bernsteiner from DKT, der kleine Torpedo, and I met him in at a meeting in Menton in '94 or '95 in the south of France, because we went to the south of France because it gave us what we thought a California feeling. We could not go to California,
Right.
you
Right.
know. So we could not drive our cars to California. So we went to the south of France, which is 1,000 kilometers away. And then I met these guys from Austria, der kleine Torpedo, Volkswagen Club, and we became friends. And I was there almost every month for years and years, And I found uh, Austrian cars and bought Austrian cars and resold Austrian cars because the Austrians didn't put salt on the streets for many, many years, So the cars got stored away before the Austrians started to salt the street in winter.
Oh, really?
So the cars were in much, much better condition. And many of the cars went to the UK through a bus station and I don't know, bought BBT board but I met Ernst, which is one of the guys that we keep a friendship our entire life, if we see each other or not, because we're like-minded. And if if I would say I'm a controversial person and I'm not very outgoing,
Yeah.
but but in the end, you meet people all over the world who have the same thinking about how things should be or how things should look, and so we have the same taste in things, and we're like-minded. And I have friends in the U.S. like Randy Carlson or Blue Nelson, and in the UK and in France, you make friends because you feel
Yeah, you have the kind of the same
you're on the same level, kind of,
the same mentality. Yeah.
Yeah. So the car was found by Ernst, and it was sitting in his shop, and I said, "Well, I buy it because that was the beginning of the bus craze, or buses got interesting in Germany." And it was cheap. It was like, I don't know, 700 marks, 350 euro or so.
Oh, really? And this
Brought
is
it
for
back.
the Lindy Bus.
Right. At that time, you would pay like 500 or 700 for a samba roof that we cut off at at the Austrian junkyards in Vösendorf, and I cut it off because I could not transport three cars at a time with my T3 bus, but I could transport three roofs on my roof rack.
So you'd cut off
So
the Samba roofs?
yeah, of a sliding door, and the other one was a walk-through double door. So I have pictures with Mario and me standing on the roofs when
Oh,
we cut
wow.
them off, just cut them off, and I wrote over the picture. I wrote surfing roofs for sale because we're kind of surfing on the roofs.
Right.
Uh, that's the time. So I brought this thing back, and then it had some primer on, and we wiped off the primer, and we saw the Linde Kühlanlagen sign writing underneath, and nobody was interested in a sign written bus in a rusty bus, and so it was sitting behind my shop for a couple of months. Then I stored it at a friend's place, and then a few weeks before the Hanover show, I must say I built a shop in '99, and we moved in the new shop in 2000 or 2001. And I had 3 or 4 employees, and every year we went to the 1st of May show in Hanover, which is the biggest one-day meeting in Europe, I think,
And what's that show
for many,
called?
many years. Say it again?
What's the name of that show?
A Maikäfertreffen in Hanover, organized by Henry Hackeroth.
And
Big show,
so
big swap meet.
you'd go every year to that?
hmm So when we in the early days, we always tried to debut a car at the Maikäfertreffen show,
Right. Try to bring
and we had
something new and cool every year.
something cool, and nobody had a lower bus. And I thought, okay, let's see what we can do with this Linde bus, because I wanted to show people, because I mean, exactly that the biggest chunk of money on a restoration of car goes into paintwork, especially today,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Sounds sad.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's definitely,
I,
you know, but
it's
it's also worth it sometimes, right? So if you're trying to build something, it takes the most time
right,
and the most money.
right, right, and I totally appreciate, because I'm 110% person, and I appreciate those guys as Andy. I have my own Andy, whose name is Chris, but um, but I wanted to show people that you can have something cool without spending a fortune. So we tried to lower this car as much as possible. I know, I met Jason Rensbottom in the US.
Yeah.
Jay from Rustbox, right?
Right.
Before through
Yeah.
Blue and Randy Carlson and all those this gang.
Uh-huh.
So he had slammed buses or lowered buses, and I knew that Wolfgang International and Bus Boys are doing lowering stuff for these cars, but we had no access. So we did our own beam, and then we did our own straight axle kit, and later and it was like our test vehicle for products. So we lowered it and we took it on a trailer, put it on a trailer, drove it to Hanover, and it was an instant hit. People
Ev-
could not believe a bus that low, and it
right.
was driving with a stock 1500 engine, but it was driving. It's a 61 panel van in all that patina paintwork, but nothing fake, all original patina, and that's the point. And this car is now called the mother of patina Volkswagens in Europe.
So that was kind of the first one that kicked it off when everyone else is doing
Yeah, with the
shiny
English, with
cars.
everything. When I took it to the Volkswagen show the year later, this was the first unrestored piece of shit in the Volkswagen show.
Well,
Really? I mean,
and then I think it went to a whole nother level. The first time I went to a Volksworld show was in 2013, and they had a right-hand drive. I remember they had a right-hand drive, oval window, completely rusted car with the motor had all kind of copper bits on it. I mean, it was just it was patina past the
restored floor
point.
pan, but the untouched body. Yeah,
Yeah,
I remember the car.
I mean, it was rotten. This car, this car was rotten.
But this is, but we made the Lindy Bus better over the years, and then what's happening today with and I call it shit look because the term rat look was not available.
Right.
Nobody, it didn't exist. So to us, it was shit look, and but people loved it. And what's happening today, I'm over it. I cannot. Maybe I have a Patina 65 Beetle from Finland with 40,000 kilometers, but it's nice Patina. It's not. It has no rust.
Right.
The patina from using a car but not
Well,
dragging it out of a swamp in Sweden and then
putting wheels on it and making it run.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
There,
not my cup of tea.
there is a point of no return, right? Like I think the thing with patina cars is if it's original unrestored and it's have some bumps and bruises from driving, but it's not rotten and needs a full restoration and it has some history versus like it went to the point where there was preserving some history to the point of like ridiculously over rusted, beat to death, and can I make this car that shouldn't be on the road on the road?
Even worse. I mean, in Germany, if you want to bring it on the road, it has to have no rust holes. Everything has to work. So that's the difference to the US,
Yeah.
or to the UK.
Right.
But you have to go to the control every 2 years, so everything has to be sound. You have to shut well. If your chassis is rotten, there's no way to drive it. And then in Germany or in in Germany or Europe, people figured if I don't have a red look base car, I can make it red look. And this is even worse to make cars rusty or shit, just to achieve the look of nature has to do it, not humans. And that's when I got out of it. Just no. I
Yeah.
did some cool stuff, and I did a pickup in that style, and with the pest control bus that followed the Lindy Bus. I sold the Lindy Bus to Paul Medhurst
What year did you
of
sell that?
maybe '05 or so. I sold it twice and bought it back. I bought it back from Spain. Then when he sold it, we fell out because he sold the car without telling me, and we've not been friends for 10 years, and now we're big friends again. But he started Type 2 detectives because of that bus. So I sold the car to him, and then he made the T-shirts with the Lindy Bus, the bus selector.
Yeah.
Lindy Bus T-shirts, and made millions. I did not, but I'm still jealous. But he gave me one NOS T-shirt last time he was here a couple of weeks ago.
Now,
So he started the Type 2 detectives, and when I delivered the car, no, they drove Big and him flew here, drove it back, and then I came because they took it to Big Bang, and Paul drove it to become a member of the Buses with Attitude, and you had to run a 1899 or so, and this car did a 1599, and nobody could believe. Ricky James said it's unbelievable. What kind of engine? I said it's a 1600
no way.
with dual 34 Delottos and a buckpack single quiet pack. But everything is very light. So I built this engine with old Okrasa or Oettinger heads, and I lightened everything that to what's possible. And it was such a quick car for 1600, and that's what kicked it off. What started the bus craze in Germany. Everybody had to have a bus then, and then I said, okay, what's next? So I built a pickup, but at the same time, I had built a Kellogg car, which was called the Bavarian Bomber, a 66 Beetle from Austria in Fontana gray with red interior and sprint stars, and or center lines with slicks. And
what year was it? What year was that car?
it was a 66.
A 66.
It was featured in Volkswagen Trends magazine, and I think this started. This was the kickstart of me getting popular, because well, people, the scene in Europe. We went to the Volkswagen show, so we knew Mike Pye and Ivan McCutcheon and all these guys. Steve Gilbert
Right.
and Ricky James, and we took the Squareback from Ernst Squareback from Vienna. We drove to the Volkswagen show, which is, I don't know, 2,500 kilometers maybe. It's always every year we went, and I took the Lindy Bus, and so there was the Bug show um, one year, and I had built this traditional DKP 3 style 66 Beetle, and it was supposedly on mainland Europe the first real Kellogg car with IDA engine. There were people in the DFL club and DKT. They all had Lucas, but not with a short ratio gearbox and IDA engines.
And
And
what year was this?
I can't remember. I think it was short time after or before the Lindy Bus. I think after. I had the car on the trailer, and we drove in Spa-Francorchamps through the village where the hotel was, just before the entrance in that curve. And Mike Pye and Ivan McCutcheon was sitting there and saw us driving by, and they jumped from their chairs and ran after me, and they said, "Wow, what's that?" And "That's cool, wow." And Ivan said, and he really did this. He said, "Walter, from now on, every car you're building, we're going to feature in Volkswagen, no matter what." And
Oh,
this really
really?
happened.
Yeah.
Over all those years, I think we had 56 features, not only Volkswagen, 56 different cars. And Mike Key took pictures
How
of
many
the
cars?
car, and 56 features of different
56?
cars in magazines.
Wow. Well,
Now we don't have features anymore because it's Instagram.
right, right.
So,
Instagram kind of takes away all the sizzle. Now, so you built the first cow looker, right? The first real cow looker, short geared box, and all that stuff.
1251 it did.
And then, but
So for Europe, or for Germany, street legal in, let's say, 2000, doing a 1251 on slicks, on a drag strip was a big number.
Yeah.
That, word.
And
And then I took,
what year did you do
yeah,
that?
okay.
What year was that?
That was 99, 2000, I think, or 2001.
Yeah, that's pretty. I mean, that's pretty early. You're pretty much ahead of the curve over there in the UK. And then the scene starts to change a little bit, right? It starts to go from the patina. You get tired of that. You build a nice cow looker, and then the whole scene starts to change because now buses are getting real popular. They're starting to be the thing. But then everybody starts to pursue like rare stuff, the rarest of the rare, or coach builts and things like that. Now you kind of got into one of those at one time too, right?
Well, you mean the coach builds, or we started with the bus craze was really big for us because
Right.
we did a car that was nicknamed Caramba. It's a dual slider 21 window with a Porsche 3.2 liter gearbox and engine.
Oh wow.
And this is that's around 2002, I believe. We built this car, and nobody else had done this before. I mean, they put six-cylinder engines on a, let's say, four-speed IRS gearbox and some kind of brakes, but we built our own rack and pinion steering. We
Really?
built our own drop spindles. We built our own IRS coil over rear end because it did not exist 20, almost 25 years ago. It did not exist, and it was street legal. And we built 5 buses with six-cylinder, 5, and one fastback. Which is funny because we developed so many parts that uh, you can now buy off the shelf, or people now claim they do this and that. There's a 15 window, I believe, in Germany with a six-cylinder engine, and it's all. He looked at the pictures on my website, and then they built the car. But we did things first, and we did the first restored because you said something about this oval with the restored floor pan in the Volkswagen show.
Yeah.
So fake patina, what people are doing today, blending in paint. I think in 2003 or four, uh, a, 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 a a guy came by and said he wants to buy the Lindy Bus, and I said it's sold. It's in England, and I said I can build him something. So we sourced a sliding door panel van in dark blue in Austria and restored the car without touching the, most of the paint outside, but it needed the bottom 30, 40 centimeters, right? And
Yeah.
I was blending in and painting fake rust on it in the driveway. And you I think there's pictures or the stories on the site. Um, and friends of mine came by and said, "Oh shit, you just restored the car and now it's rusting again." I said, "Yeah, true." So it was so good they could not tell
Oh really?
that it's restored, but it was a complete restored car. And then after this, we did a TV show, 9 episodes, restoring a Samba that we bought in California from True Color Me Motors,
Oh really?
good
What
friend.
what was the name of the TV show?
Um, it's a weekly show called Abenteuer Auto. We did adventure automobile, but we don't have it any longer. And they always had specialists in a certain brand or make restore a car in a couple of episodes, and then it was given away in a lottery, call in lottery. So
Oh
they did a
nice.
911, they did a Mustang, and some other stuff. And it was the 10th show, or the 10th restoration. And as the bus hype was on the top level, they thought a Samba would be nice. So the this one person, Christoph from the production company, me flew over to see Drew, and I worked with Drew. I bought many cars, many buses from him in those 4 or 5 years of the bus hype. We
Oh,
flew over,
buying them
and it
to
was filmed.
buying them to
Huh?
resell in Europe.
Yes. and also customize them, because people here wanted IRS disc, CSP disc brakes, custom speed parts disc brakes, and lowered in 1776. So we kind of made 10 buses at the same time. The business became bigger. I had 15 employees,
Oh, wow.
and so we flew over to see Drew, and they filmed it, and we choose this original paint 66 sea blue or 65 sea blue car.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it's going to stay like that, and except for the technical aspect. But it was such a nice slide patina car, you would not touch it. So car got shipped over, and we prepared. I built an engine, and we prepared, the suspension parts, and then we had sponsors like Custom and Speed Parts and Wolfsburg West, Rancho Center's gearbox, which was new. It's like the German Chip Fuß thing going on.
Right,
Kind
like
of.
overhauling. Yeah.
Yeah, we had over 1 million people watching every Sunday
Oh, wow.
the show, which is big for like Sunday 5 o'clock. Who's watching TV?
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal. And
So
what year was this?
maybe 2008.
Oh, wow. So right there at the peak of
Uh,
the bus move.
the peak. We had the first flat four BRMs on this car in Germany, and I, we, my goal was always doing things the best quality level possible with the best quality products, but also being the first person to do things.
Right. Try to do
And
something new every time you come out.
you know, you know, what's his name? Mosi, the guy who's doing the beams, Beamy, the black top back beams.
The dogback beams. Yeah.
Yeah, I met him because he was a customer, and I built him the second, what I believe is the second link pin bay beam, narrowed, because nobody had this. So I built the first one to lower a bay window with the link pin dropped spindles, and he ordered one, and I sent him, and from there he started his business with the beams.
Oh, really?
That's funny. I like what he does, but I can do my own stuff. But this is what we done, and also this car. So the car came, and we started to. Yeah, it needed a little metal work, and you can still find it on the internet. The show. It needed a little metal work here and there, on the rockers, but nothing serious. And at that time, Volkswagen started the in-house restoration business, right, in Hanover.
Yeah.
Werksrestoration, they call it, I think, from Nutzfahrzeuge.
Right.
And the other day, the person, Christoph came from the production company, said, Volkswagen wants to be part of it. And I said, I don't want them to be part of it because I don't like them, because but I did my cars and my business because I like the cars and not the company. So I like a Beetle and I like a bus, and I think it differs in the Volkswagen world that it's all about the cars and not about the company name, or
Right.
not automatically like a brand new Passat.
Mm-hmm.
If you have an old Beetle, you could drive a Mercedes. It's not like the Opel folks or the Ford guys. This is all about the brand. Here, it's not. Nothing is about the brand. I like it because you can do a lot of custom stuff with them. They're neat. They can be quick. You can drag race them. The opportunities you have are endless.
Yeah. The platform for Volkswagens goes any direction, from vintage
Right,
to patina to drag race, cow look,
right,
German look. There's a
yeah,
million different
yeah.
directions.
So I said, what do they want to do? Yeah, they want to paint the car. I said, this car is not going to be painted. It's one of the best preserved original paint cars or buses I've seen. No, they want to paint the car. So I said,
And which car was
I'm
this?
this samba we did for the show for
Oh, the
the
one from
65.
Drew Cologne.
Yeah, I said, and you have a certain budget from a production company. They're gonna pay the rest. You have to pay yourself, or you have to find sponsors. So I said, the budget's gonna explode. I'm not gonna pay because we need to blast the car. We gotta strip it, and then it needs to be painted. Yeah, so we raised the budget by 10,000, and then we can do. Okay, car came back 2, 3 weeks later, the body, and it was still in the trailer. I said, "You don't unload. I'm not gonna assemble this car
Really?
because the quality was so bad. Everybody surrounding. I mean, my employees, my friends, my family, they knew what we can do, but those guys were proud because this was the best they could achieve. But they did not know better.
Right.
Um, and the one guy said, "Oh, um, yeah, it's better than back in the day, and you would be happy to be driven over by this car because the undercarriage is so nice." And I said, "Yeah, but you know, here's bad, there's bad. This is shit. This doesn't. I don't. You know, thin paint and." It was terrible. It was a bummer to assemble the car. So big crisis. After a couple of hours of talking, they pushed the car in. We assembled the car. It was given away, and then the guy who had it had an accident. It was fixed, then sold for a lot of money, and and then it was sold to Bremerhaven, and I think it's still in the family.
Really?
And the new owner called me the other day. And he said, "Oh, I wonder. I bought this car you built. It's really what you say." I said, "What is this?" And he said, "Yeah, it's perfect family. Everybody loves it in a family, but we need to repaint the car because after I think 2 or 3 years, it started to rust again because in the joints, the gaps,
Yeah.
you could see through. There was no sealant and stuff. So yeah, they made things worse than if we would have left the car. But the show was big, and when and this show was what you call it when you it was like 8 hours of footage in
Yeah.
9 episodes, and they put it together they shrunk it to 1 hour footage, and uh, it re-aired on a different channel
Mm-hmm.
a year later or 2 years later. And this is when the big business started. Everybody came, everybody with money who was into Porsches. They all wanted a bus. I,
Yeah.
I got good clients through this, no problem. But in the end, we were 15 employees. We had everybody, and this is when Autocraft in England started to make the panels, or the funky green panels started. So
Yeah.
we had to have this in stock. We had an online shop, and everything got expensive for me, and then I didn't want to do it anymore. So I had a break of almost 5 years.
It was just too
Didn't
much, too many employees, too much stuff going on, and just
Yeah, we call it the waterhead was the
yeah,
waterhead was too big for
yeah,
just one person. And I had the feeling I'm the only one who knows where I want to go, in which direction, and what will be, and nobody. I had good guys, very talented workers and metal workers, and also the guy in the office, very, very nice, very good. But it seemed like they were too young, like my kids, and uh,
and sometimes
and it
it stops
became difficult.
yeah, it stops becoming fun. Like the thrill of
Yeah,
doing the work, it then becomes just deadlines and jobs, and nothing matters, and everybody's focused on cost, and it just turns into more of a
the
grind,
the
right?
investment is very big. You need a bigger. So I bought a building, um, and I thought, oh, it's big enough, and we can live on the second floor, and it's big enough. a couple of months later, we rent another building in the same size, to store the cars, to store parts. It's unbelievable how fast it grew, and it was too fast for me. For just one person, too many problems. Every morning you went to work. Who's there? Who's not? What's the problems today?
Right.
And
Who
and
didn't
I
show
couldn't
up? Yeah.
I couldn't go to the workshop anymore. I was sitting there answering the telephone the whole day, and then arguing with people who didn't want to pay. Uh, no, that's not what I'm not a businessman. I'm innovative, and I if I was born in the wrong country, if I was in the US, I would be a custom car builder, with no rules,
Right.
no restrictions, do what you want.
Yeah.
But I think I maxed it out at some points. Really, I
Yeah.
maxed it out. Yeah.
Well, and along through all that evolution, that we start to chase down and hunt down the really rare vehicles. Now, there's one rare vehicle that you kind of specialize in for a little bit, right? Which was is it an Atwater? What do they call it? The Atwater bus?
Oh, you mean the panoramic bus?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
called Auwerter Carlux.
Atwater,
Carlux,
car
like
looks.
luxury car.
Yeah.
Carlux.
So
Carlux.
what is first? How do you find it? Second, what is the history of this thing?
I found three, and I think, well, there's three known. So up until now, I think I found them all. The history is a coach company in near Stuttgart in Möhringen, which was the brother of the founder of another coach company later called Neoplan, and the family name was Auwerter. So the one part was successful later became from Auwerter. Gottlob Auwerter was the one brother, and the other one was Ernst Auwerter.
Yeah.
So the one part became Neoplan, and then later was bought by MAN, I think, and Volkswagen. So it still exists, kind of, but it was the biggest travel bus coach builder in the world, or in Europe at least. And they had these big panoramic buses in the 50s and 60s. And the brother Ernst also built coaches, but I would not say on a lower level, but a lot less successful. And they eventually went bankrupt in the early 2000s, I believe.
So the three buses you found, were they built for a specific project, or they were
No,
just prototypes?
no there was a guy in Switzerland. Well, there were. I think the idea was, and a bummer is that the archives are lost. I talked to Ernst Auwerter before his death, when he was very old, and he told me some stuff, but not he could not remember the really interesting parts. Um, when you go with your vehicle, you go steep alpine roads, and the roads get narrow, and steeper, and the curves get, smaller. You find out you can. Well, I have a 4Motion California,
Yeah.
and even if we go up to like a restaurant in the Alps, on these very narrow roads, it's kind of tricky. But you can never go with a travel bus or a coach back in the day because it's too big. And so I think this guy, this person called Sprenger, from Switzerland, had the idea to build a similar looking car with the same effect, that can go up all the way because it's smaller on a Volkswagen bus base, because he wanted to.
You're good to
All right.
continue. Yeah, you're good.
Okay. So this person named Sprenger from Switzerland had this idea to build a smaller car, but take tourists all the way up on the mountains, on the narrow, small roads, tiny roads, and that they could see the mountaintop. It needed to be a panoramic car. It needed to have a panoramic roof. I think that was the idea. So he approached the company Auwerter, Ernst Auwerter, with a drawing that I have picture of,
Yeah.
and said, "Could you do this for me?" And they said, "Yeah, it's no problem." Um, Ernst Auwerter told me maybe 10 years ago that they built 24 of these cars, of these buses,
24 of them?
between 24 between 1960 and 62. But there were not, so the gentleman Sprenger in Switzerland was, I don't know if he had his own travel like coach company, but he also imported buses to Switzerland, and as you know, as an importer, and sold them to the travel tourist companies that they could take the tourists up, take them around. So
So they built not just
a few
24 of these, you're saying?
Yeah, a few cars for sure have been sold to Switzerland, and some the one that is still here with me was sold brand new to Germany. So not all of them went to Switzerland, you know. Um, so some must have been sold to Germany or to Austria or wherever. But but I have pictures of or evidence with the three cars that I found of another three cars that must have been built. From one there's an interior picture, one there's in the Heintje movie, and the other one is maybe the earliest car that must have been a semaphore car, so early bus, a pre-59 one. Um,
Now, how do you?
and
But
and
but
that's
but
it.
how do you stumble across the buses the first time? Like, you get a phone
I
call.
knew I knew the one that I had, the first one that I had, which is now the Diesel bus, the brown and ceiling wax red one.
Yeah.
That was blue and had like trucker high pipes in the rear. I saw at a meeting in the Netherlands in the 90s. And the other day I got an email, must have been around 10, 12, 2012 maybe, uh, saying, "I have this car for sale. Are you interested?" It's a very short email. "Do you know this guy?" He was explaining what it is, but I knew what it is, and it was not far away from, or it was very far away from me. But a friend of mine was had a business had a business date at in Cologne, I think. And I called him and said, "Hey, can you go and check this car for me and maybe negotiate on the price?" He said, "Yeah, yeah, no problem." And this is my friend Ande, who is into old Porsches, and he knows what he's doing. So he had this appointment, and after he went and saw the car, and I told him on the phone, if if he goes there, he should put at least a deposit down, because it's only the one car that exists
And you're not, and you're
in
not worried.
2012.
Yeah, and you're not worried
So,
about him trying to buy the car because
no,
he's into
no, no,
Porsches.
no. He's good. One of my best clients and very good friends. So yeah, and then he called me later, an hour later, and said, "I looked at the car." I said, "Yeah, okay." And he said, "Do you know how bad it is?" I said, "I can imagine, but there's only one. So what did you do?" Well, I said, "Did you put down a deposit?" He said, "No, because there was nothing to negotiate." I said, "You have to turn around." So I turned around, paid for the car in full, and I organized the transport for the next couple of days. And then he called me again and said, "Tell me about the car." And so I told him what I think. And and then he said, "You want to sell it to me?"
Oh, really? He didn't
So,
want it, and
so
now he wants to buy it from you, huh?
yeah, because I explained how rare and what I think, what I thought it would be, because nobody knew the history, nobody knew anything. It's just a weirdo, ugly looking with those truck pipes and a lot of stickers on it. But I had my plan, I had my imagination, and at that time I did a lot of bus stuff with Anne because he loved buses. So um, through and Mark Mertz, he bought, and me, he bought a lot of original paint, like a little collection, but maybe the best quality early buses in the world.
Oh, really?
So 23 Mango one, full options, first owner, stuff like that. Barn door, from a blind pupil school, with perfect interior, and palm green, sand green bus that was a radio station with brand new interior, original paint and stuff.
Like
So
like a swivel seat bus?
I don't I have to check. I don't know. I don't know. I can't remember.
So
So
now,
we
so
did we did a lot of stuff together.
so now you find this bus. It's pretty rusted. Like all the rockers, everything are rusted on the thing, and you
Yeah.
basically have to rebuild and do metal work on the whole thing.
Yeah.
How long does it
Yeah.
take you to get it to where you're ready for paint? Is this the one that you
No,
ended up?
the story is very different.
Yeah.
I didn't restore it for 10 years. I didn't. Well, Andre said, "Can I buy it?" And I said, "Okay, let's make a deal. You can buy it for the exact money you just gave this guy, uh, but I need to use it for a year and do whatever I want to do with it. And after that, I want to restore the car for you. Deal." Okay. So first thing we did, take the take the pipes off, slam it, take it to the 1st of May show in Hanover.
Nice. And how was
And
that?
then yeah, it was like with the Lindy Bus, but more than 10 years later.
And
People did,
everyone's like, what can you do now? Because you've done all this and all that, and then you find this freak show of a bus that's
yeah.
completely,
I put those, what you call it, the bubble fish,
yeah, yeah,
the dried bubble fish inside
yeah.
all over the interior. And Peter Kerman from CSP and Custom Street Parts, and I can 100% remember he didn't like the car, and then we sat inside and we looked outside and with the fish hanging all over the place, and he said, I think I like it. You know, what the fuck are you gonna do with it? I said, now we have a photo shooting. It's gonna be in Volkswagen and Speed magazine. So we did photo shoot, and then we started to disassemble the car and start restoration. And it took, and now it's paint. It's at the upholstery shop. So 13 years later, maybe.
Yeah.
But we are on hold because my friend Ande had a severe accident last year on a scooter,
Oh,
and he's still with us, but he's fighting his way back. So we don't know
well, that's
what to
unfortunate.
do, and so it's sitting there, and not much left to do, and
But this is the
we'll see.
one that if someone's on your Instagram, it's the one that started out like a beige and red or white and red faded, and now it's the sealing wax
No,
red. Or which one is this?
no, it was the blue car. This was the blue uh, rattle can car, and I wrote the bug box on the side in orange, I think, with the rattle can.
Oh, okay.
So through Ande, I met another another gentleman who became a very good friend and client, and I'm managing. Or we started to manage his collection, and the other day he asked me if I knew, because he knew we were doing this car for Ande, this bus for Ande, and he said, "Oh, I'm from Stuttgart, and I like things or cars built in Stuttgart because he owns a big Volkswagen dealership."
Yeah.
And And he said, could you find me another one? And I said, I don't know. And then I remembered that there was one in the auction in Switzerland.
No way.
And it's a white and red car that was on a very famous junkyard it's like the Rudi Klein collection in Switzerland, but
Yeah.
not these caliber of cars, but good cars,
Right.
Ferraris. There were Ferraris, there were Porsches, there were Mercedes SLs and stuff, and some race cars. And the government wanted to close down the junkyard because of issues with the environment, or could cars that sitting there since the 70s
Right.
are dripping oil in the 2000s. So
Yeah.
this is the problem, I would say.
Yeah.
And the owner tried to turn it into a museum and ask for an entrance fee, but the government somehow managed to shut it down. So everything that was in this place was auctioned off, and another good, very old friend, Peter Fried, a parts dealer, bought a couple of cars there, and I knew he bought this white and red Atwater, but it was in a very, very bad state. A tree fell into the roof, all the windows were gone, sunken into the ground, and there's pictures of when they towed it out, and it was a nice car. They drove it in the 70s, and we didn't know anything, but he had the car, and I called him. I said, hey, and he said, if somebody can buy it, it's you. We've known each other since I'm 18, because the first vehicle I bought of him was a Razor when I was 18 years old.
Yeah.
A sunroof automatic Razor.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I'm looking at pictures of this red and white one, and I mean, it looks like it was just. I mean, I don't know what was holding it together.
No, we made a subframe later.
And then
falling apart.
So you rebuilt this whole one, this red and white one that's on your Instagram. You rebuilt the whole thing.
Yeah, we restored it over 3 years, and I have done for this collection. I mean, you can read on the bus when you see pictures of the blue and white. It's now the blue and white car. So you see Hahn, Volkswagen on it. So it's not.
Oh, it's the blue one that says Hans on the side of it. Is that what it says?
Yeah. And Hahn is one of the oldest Volkswagen dealerships in Germany. The grandfather used to work in the design or construction office of Porsche during the war and before the war.
Oh wow!
After the war, he started his own business, and they told me that they had to travel with suitcases full of money in the train to Wolfsburg, prepay the Beatles, and then go back and then hope that the Beatles arrive. This is how it started in 45, 46.
That's crazy.
And also Hahn is some like the Südfunk pedal van in the US, this very old one.
Which one is it?
It's a Hahn, the Südfunk.
Yeah, the Südfunk, the one Lind has. Yeah.
Yeah, Lind's car is a Hahn delivered car, for example. So
Really?
many cars were delivered through Hahn, and it's important. It's nice to have, and people are after Hahn delivered cars. So we started working together when I restored him a Zwitter and a Zwitter convertible, and then I did this car for him.
So I've got a couple questions. My first question is, what did you have to pay for the very first one you bought? Like when someone calls you for the first one that you bought that you sold your friend to do the restoration, what do you have to? What were they wanting for it when you found the first one?
It was already expensive back in the day.
Oh, was it? It was already
20 something, 25 or so.
25,000.
22. Yeah.
Wow. So they kind of,
euro.
I mean, so the guy that was selling it, he was already familiar with buses and things like that. It wasn't like,
Yeah. He was in some certain vintage bus club uh,
and then
member.
the second one from the junkyard, that's even, the first one was much better condition than the second one. The
It
second one
was
from,
much more. The second one was much more
it was more and it
because
was in worse condition.
no, they are all in same condition. The one looks better, but the second one helped us the most because it was almost complete. The first car was, you know, the typical history of a split window bus here is you buy it, then the second owner has it, and the third, and some student has it, and he converted it into a camper, and then
Got it.
maybe they went on the hippie trail in the 70s, you know. There was, and this was maybe the history of the blue bus. So nothing.
The blue one, which became the red one,
The blue one became the red one. Yeah.
and then the white and red one became the blue and white one.
Right.
And
Because we didn't know how they were delivered.
now,
So we had no idea what the original livery was or the original interior, but the red car, I we had evidence of the seats because all of them were different. You could special order whatever you wanted.
were they all the same
So
year?
no, 60 to 62.
Oh, okay. So it was within a certain year, but you would start with a new bus and like a panel because the whole thing from the belt line up is all custom sheet metal.
Yeah.
And then
And the door, there's not sorry, there's not two cargo doors, it's just one, and it's one and a half of the length of the original cargo door.
so it's 1.5 times wider.
Very heavy.
It's a single swing open door. And then does the rear hatch only hinge at the belt line or does it go all the way up?
It hinges above the window, the rear window. Yeah, so the roundish part, the round window goes up with the rear hatch.
Right. Yeah. No, I see that in the picture. No, they're pretty wild. And so how many do you know of that are restored?
Is that it?
How many do you know of that are fully restored?
It's just one, two, the two.
So
No more.
out of 24 that were manufactured, you only know of 2, or is there more that are out there?
Three.
There's 3 total.
I have the third car downstairs, same condition. It was chopped, it must have been in a bad state, so they took the lower part from a different bus before. But I'm keeping it because I always knew, or almost short after the beginning of the restoration of the first one, I knew there's 3 cars. I didn't know how to get the third car, but I knew there's 3 cars. So we made everything for 3 cars. 3 sets of windows, 3 sets of rubbers, 3 sets of trim, all the special parts I have already for the third car.
Has anybody ever approached you to make one for them, just custom make one?
Yes.
What would that cost if someone said, I need you to make me one of these?
I'm not, no.
Too much work?
I would say, no. There's 3 cars, and I'm.
You don't want to make
56.
a fake.
I have to start. I have to start a little different approach. I'm 56 now. I'm in good shape. Okay, so a restoration takes 2, 3, 4 years. How many more cars can I do in the rest of my working life?
Yeah.
Maybe 4 or 5 cars. We have a couple of projects running at the moment. So when they're finished, I can start with the next one and stuff. And I have this third car. I would sell the third one with the parts, but only with the signed contract that we restore the third car, because I want all of them be from the same quality, built by the same people. So I still have the same painter. I have the same upholstery guy. I have the same metal guy to do the third car, and I would not sell the car outright without restoration. So
And
if anybody, there's people, and
yeah,
a couple of them approaching me, and I say, yeah, you can buy the third one, but you have to sign a contract for the restoration. At the same time, you sign the bill of sale, because it's like we call it apple and pears. If I sell the car, they have somebody in Hungary or in Mexico and somewhere, and they throw together this third car, and then from the outside they will say, it's the same as Jelinek built in white. No, it's not.
right, right.
You know, I, we don't have to sell the third one, but I'd like to find the right person who knows of the rarity and who is ready to pay whatever it costs. I mean, I can tell you what it is, uh, but
What would it cost
uh,
if someone took that one? If you estimated the cost to restore it, it's got to be it's easily over $100,000 to restore it.
yeah, it's between 350 and half a million
Yeah,
to
I mean,
build
because
one.
you're hand making all the steel for the car. Is that
Yes,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
then do you need to rebuild all the roof
The
structure?
the approach of this restoration is the same as we're doing at the moment with a very special Porsche. We're restoring the first 911S ever built.
Oh, really?
So it's the first, yeah, it's the matching engine car. Unbelievable.
Wow.
A March 1966 911S, and it's the VIN number one of the S 911s.
That's
um, and you have to, well, I mean, you have a razor, and I am selling razor panels. And when I get pictures of cars and I see things on Instagram or on Facebook, people restoring cars, razors, restoration is not a restoration. It's not equal the next restoration. It's not never the same.
correct.
But the approach is so. I have the ninth oldest known razor coupe sitting downstairs,
Oh, yeah.
and I want somebody to buy it and we restore it the right way, because at the moment we're restoring the convertible number five, the body number five convertible razor.
Oh, wow. Are you guys doing that for the
So
Grunmans or is someone else owned it?
no, 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 no. For some other clients. Uh, I have a very limited number of customers. They all have collections and they have those cars or they want those cars. So we're doing it because. But my goal is always to like I said before, the best quality spare parts you can have,
Yeah.
and it's either NOS or the best made sheet metal or the best made rubber, or if not available, then it could be a donor car where you cut out the sheet metal.
Yeah. No,
So I think that's the second best possibility, because that's sheet metal built in Wolfsburg or in Osnabrück, and not in Mexico or Colombia or in China or in, I don't know. So it's crazy, isn't it? But
yeah.
I could I don't know. It's just like that.
Yeah.
So for restoring this car from Switzerland, I bought a rust-free, and it was a mango bus they started with at Atwater. So the
Yeah.
original base was a mango bus, a 61 mango. So I bought a 61 mango from New Mexico. All right.
Oh, wow.
So a rust-free desert car, and we cut it apart and used what we needed. Chassis, chassis rails and stuff in front. Um, the only bigger thing that, well, floor pans, but the only bigger thing that we had made was the long side panel where the cargo door is. I had made from Autocraft, and I sent my measurements, and they custom made it for me 2 times, twice,
Yeah. I mean,
and that's how you do it, and there's no way around.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
can't be a cheap ass doing this.
no, I mean, you're rebuilding a piece of history it's such a small sub segment of the history, of the stuff that was there before, and it's wild that you were able to track down the original builder for the buses and actually just sit with him and try to get some information. I mean, what was the first question you asked him?
Well, I was asking how they built the roof structure, and he said, "Oh yeah, it's 40 by 40 millimeter, this and that, square tubing, la la la." And we did this. I filmed him, and I said, "How long did it take to build a bus like that?" And he said, "We did one." So they did it for 2 years, and they built one each month. So it's 24.
Wow. So they got building
And
the roof structures down pretty good, and all the windows were plexiglass or Lexan.
plexiglass, yeah. Blue, tinted blue.
Wow.
So
And
I had to find somebody to make the windows, and he said, "I'm making at least, the minimum number is 3 sets." I said, "That's absolutely perfect." And so we had to pay for the negatives, and we had this one bus, the blue bus, where we had intact windows, and the windshield we had made by a company in northern Poland, and we shipped this one remaining windshield, that the only one known, that's intact. We shipped to
oh my
Poland,
gosh.
especially insured, and
And what
so
the windshields originally were glass, right?
the windshield is glass, yeah. Side windows, windshield is glass, everything curved except for the windshield is blue tinted plexiglass.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it definitely seems like you have a desire to have something that's really unique all the time, just something that's different. Not a lot of people have. I mean, even from doing the sand scorcher, which was a project that you built, years back, right? And you copied the model that you saw and you tried to get it down to the exact detail, right?
Yeah, yeah. the, it's a desire since I was a kid. But I told Poppy was here, Paul Meadows was here, and he filmed for his Type 2 detectives television. And I told them the story in, at the cabinet where I have my models. I'm collecting Tamiya models. Uh-huh. So
Yeah,
um,
I saw that on
I
Type
said,
Two Detectives.
I had to wait 29 years until I found all the parts to make it exactly like the box art from Tamiya was, and not just something painted blue and white with some 506 sticker on the side,
Right. I
because
mean,
that's not what I want to do. I'd rather do nothing. Yeah.
well, that's the thing, right? I mean, your level of commitment to what you want to do is you want it as exactly as possible, and I mean, obviously, this bug was fully functioning, driving, all that stuff. And so, how long did you own the sand scorcher for?
Not very long.
What happened?
Um, I had the idea because I there's different body kits for Bahas, and not only wide eye, bug eye. The fenders are different, the rear engine lids are different and stuff. So I was traveling the U.S. and California a lot of times, and also Las Vegas and desert junkyards, and I was always collecting old fiberglass parts from Bajas
Right.
to to, to copy them, uh, and and so in the end, the missing link was the Sand Tires Unlimited peddler tracks. I would never have built this car without those tires.
Yeah.
And then I found on the internet, because that was then after the Skynet block time, internet came into the big internet came into my life, and I found the guy that's in Temecula making sand tires, or the company Sand Tires Unlimited.
Oh yeah.
Wow. So I called him. I said, "Hey, can you send some sand tires to Jerry?" He said, "No." I said, "Oh, why not?" And I explained why I need them, because they are on this model car from Tommy. I said, he didn't know. So in 2009, he did not know that Tamaya made free advertisement for Sand Tires Unlimited in 79,
Right.
or 1980. And he said he doesn't want to send them. He's not doing this. So I said, I take more than two. I take four fronts, four rears, and another four rears. And he said, I'm still not sending them. So I called Randy Carlson, who lives nearby. And I said, Randy, can you? Oh, it's down the road. So he got them tires for me, and we shipped them in a bus.
Oh,
Okay?
there you go.
And we shipped them in a bus. So I had the tires, and then we could start the project. And I bought a '68 sunroof Beetle because the original Sand Scorcher, the model is a '68 sunroof Beetle. You see on the gas tank flap
Yeah.
because it doesn't have the dimple, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
it's 668. And so I bought a base car. I bought a tracker for the suspension parts because it needed to sit right. So IRS and then race spindles it needed. And I called the production company the people that filmed this Samba adventure with us.
Yeah.
Um, and I explained, and they said, yeah, we could do 5 days of filming. And I said, oh, okay. And then I called a gentleman named Thomas Peter, who was, I don't know, Dicky Kamjat, the German importer is in Bavaria, 1.5 hours from here. So I called him. I said, this is what we want to do. Is there any kind of trademark issues and stuff? And if we do it, and he said, let me think about it. Call you back in the next couple of days. So he called back. He said, oh, he looked on our site and he found us on Facebook, and we're doing cool stuff. And yeah, from his point of view, it should be okay. But he wants to ask the Japanese, the headquarter, if it's okay. Called me back a couple of days later. I said, you're good to go. I said, with all the stickers, with everything. He said, yeah, you're good to go. So we started building this car. The production company came, filmed, and there was a lot of fabricating work because some parts you simply could not buy.
Yeah.
And an interesting point is that you could not find Jackman wheels in Germany. The brand simply did not exist any longer.
Right.
So MP makes the steel copies of the chrome 5-spoke, chrome spoke, whatever it's called.
Uh huh.
And so I bought them, had them shipped, and then we started building the car. And I think 2, 3, 4 weeks before we finished, uh, Thomas Peter from Tamaya, Germany, called me again and said, "When is it done? When are you finished?" And I said, "We want to go to the Volkswagen show, so that's like I don't know, 13th of March or some middle of March." And then he replied, "Could you finish the car by the end of January?" I said, "What's that for?" And he said, there's the toy, it's called Spielwarenmesse, which is the biggest toy fair in the world in Nuremberg. So
Yeah.
all the toy companies come and display what's new. And he said, Tamiya wants to have your sand scorcher at their stand. So Tamiya was going, oh, they had a stand at the toy show since day one, I believe. And one of the biggest stands. And I said, "Yeah, we'll try. Yeah, we can do it. The rear fenders won't be perfect because we want to do different ones, but there will be fenders on the car, and it's gonna be okay." So the last couple of days, there was um, Johnny Smith from the UK was there, big Tamiya fan.
Yeah.
Conrad having his TV show in England, Fifth Gear at the time, and they photographed the car with for Evo magazine. So that was the first time it got photographed while we were still finishing the car. And we put it in the trailer the day before the show. Took it to Nuremberg, unloaded. It was night already. Pushed it in the hall towards the stand, and then Johnny Smith said, "Oh, see this guy there with the beige coat, this Japanese guy."
Yeah.
So, yeah, who is it? And he said, "This is Taki-san. This is the designer of the box art."
No way.
Well, a Sand Scorcher never was a real car, so it was just his imagination. Many other cars, of most of the other cars of Tamiya were there was original car, and they made a model after the original car. This
Right.
was just a brainchild of him, and he saw the car. We pushing in the car, and he could not believe. He didn't know it's coming,
Oh, really?
and he said, I think I'm dreaming. So I introduced myself, had him sign the dashboard and stuff, and he sat in the car. We took a picture together, and then we left the car, because the real deal was that Tamiya got inspired by me building this 10-to-1 model of the real car,
Yeah.
and and so they got inspired to build to do a re-release of the Sand Scorcher for the 30th anniversary of the Sand Scorcher, which I
Really?
didn't know that it is at this year.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
and so the re-release, and this is the first re-release of a model from Tamiya ever.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't know, you know.
Well, that's
So I
that's the
got,
power of the passion of the hobby, right?
yeah, it was such a rewarding time. So
No,
we
that's
left the car
excellent.
there, and then we wanted to fly, because it was very stressful. We wanted to fly out to Florida on Sunday or Monday, and I said to my girlfriend, we should go to the show and see the rest, because I only saw the trade stand pushing in the car at night. It was cold and rainy, and so we went there on Sunday, and there was masses of people around the Sand Scorcher,
Yeah.
and I didn't know it had such an influence, because you could get, I think the real deal until today is, and there's good stories. 2 weeks ago, the weekend, we were at the Set Ice Race in Zell am See,
Yeah.
uh, organized by the younger generation of the Porsche family and stuff. And there's people, yeah, you are the guy that, you know, yeah, it's me. Okay, so it seems like everybody in my generation, or let's say from 45 to 60, knows about the Sand Scorch, and it had a certain impact on people and
Yeah.
bring people together. And this guy had impact on Volkswagen enthusiasts, on RC model car enthusiasts, and on kids and families, because the kids thought it's fucking cool.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell did you do? Um, so, so I was there. I could not believe what's going on, and Volkswagen asked me if I want to put it in the Zeithaus. I said no. It's not going anywhere, and the last place it goes to the Zeithaus. And
To where? Where?
Zeithaus is the museum at Autostadt, not the Volkswagen Museum, but the glass complex museum.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I don't like, as I told you, because of the trademark rights and the behavior of the brand or the company against parts dealers in the 90s.
Against
When
the
you had,
enthusiasts, yeah.
yeah, when you had repro hubcaps, you get a lawsuit and stuff. And this, no, thank you. There's different things in my life.
Yeah, you
I
feel
don't need to
like
give cars to Volkswagen.
you feel like they've
You see.
turned their back on the people that really love the brand,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they've put
Yeah,
they
and then
put company over people.
the rest, when there was the bus hype, they started to restore buses to take away business from the from me and others restoring buses, because they felt like, oh, we have a heritage, and oh, we should make some money because it's, I don't know why, but it never felt good, and I never liked the behavior.
Yeah.
But
No, I
but
agree.
that's the thing. Um, but coming back to the Atwater for a short while with the restored Han
Yeah.
Atwater, we won. That's now 2 years ago in December on October. We won the restoration of the year uh, in the biggest best-selling German oldtimer vintage car magazine called Autobild Classic,
Oh, very cool.
and the prize, it's like the Grammy for the German restorer, right?
Yeah.
So, and
That's
before we
great.
didn't show the car, but they knew of the car. So we went there, and the prize giving was in the side house. So
Oh, wow.
that was kind of cool, but
That's
okay.
that's too cool.
Uh,
Well,
So
I mean, Walter, looking back at the time that you've been in the hobby since '94, I mean, did you ever think that you would get to this level where, you're restoring some of the rarest stuff, and you've got relationships with people that have got great collections of vehicles that allow you to express your creativity through
never,
these
never,
restorations?
never,
Yeah.
never. No,
So
I,
it's gotta feel
no.
good. It's gotta feel good to know that. And do you still have love and passion for the hobby?
Me? Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
if there's
But
one car that you could find to do a restoration on any car, what would it be?
but can I tell you the end of
Oh yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
scorcher, because
Please, please. Yeah.
the interesting part is that we went back on Sunday, and then they said, well, Tommy Peter said, Mr. Tamaya wants to meet you, and this is what you just said. Did you ever believe you will meet these people?
Right.
So as Tamaya, the founder, was my childhood hero, the model master,
Really.
and so they took me to his conference table within the trade stand in a back room. There was his son and the Mr. Mokitsuki, the marketing or the sales manager US or whatever. He was not. I think he's the CEO now. Um, and Mr. Tommy was sitting there, and he said, "Mr. Jelinek, we are very, very happy with what you built." And I said, "Okay, this is the biggest honor I have experienced from my hero." And they're all Japanese, and they're holding back their feelings, right? So
Yeah.
kind of tricky situation. And I was there. I could not believe what's happening. And he said, "What are you going to do with the car?" And I said, "Well, we're taking it to a couple of events, to the Volkswagen show. We're gonna debut the car, or we wanted to debut the car, but now it's here. So, and we already got emails because the RC hobby is huge compared, I mean, in the UK compared to Europe or to
Yeah.
Germany. So I got emails, and everybody knew, and the biggest newspaper in Germany, Bild-Zeitung, came to take pictures and make a story, and you could not believe what's happening, because we did this car. I never had this before, and feeling like a pop star.
Yeah. No
Uh,
doubt.
no, it's not. It would not be me. but so he said, "What?" I said, well, we're going to shows, and then it's going to end up in a museum, or I put it on my ceiling, the other way around." Um,
Yeah.
and he said, "No, it needs to go to my museum." And Tommy Peter was standing at the museum. This means he wants to buy the car. So I said, "This is the biggest honor, and this is where it belongs to. But I can only give you the car after the 1st of May show. We can ship it after the 1st of May, because we told people we're going to bring it to the Volkswagen show, to the 1st of May show." So, and he said, that's all right. So we wrapped it. We took it to the Volkswagen show. Uh, um, Stefan made energy drinks with the sand scorcher
Oh,
on it. I
really?
didn't know, you know.
How cool is that?
Uh, collectible. They made extra stand with sand where we could put the car inside, and it was funny. We won something, a prize, but that's it was fulfilling one of my dreams, and it didn't matter if I won a prize or not, because the car was good. It was not perfect, but it was close. And and so we came back, and my guy in the office said, "Oh, Tamaya called. You should write an invoice." So we calculated the costs on the project, and I sold it for exactly what it cost me,
Oh, wow.
because we had so much advertisement and we had popularity through this car, and I was so happy. Today I would charge much more. I
Right.
was glad somebody buys it, because the car. I, I my life is about building my cars with other people's money. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
everything I
absolutely.
built is how I would like to own it, or I would like to have it. And then uh, I got an email. Well, then somebody approached me. The biggest Tamiya collector in the world, I think, is from Hamburg, and he approached me building another one. And I said, I could do, but I would like to build the Wild Willie, the wheel stander, on a Beetle base, mechanical axles and engine, and he agreed. So we built him a Wild Willie on a. Are you familiar with a Veep? What a Veep is?
Yeah, the Volkswagen Jeep kit car.
It's a Willys M38 body on a custom frame with front beam, rear axle, and gearbox, and engine from a Volkswagen.
Yeah, but is it steel? Is it steel car?
They made steel and they made fiberglass. And at Lenny Cop, I,
Uh-huh.
I visit I visited Lenny Cop, and I said, "What's new?" And he said, "Oh, I got this Veep." And I said, "Okay, I'll buy it." And so we shipped this Veep over, and I made a lifeguard, like a um, Baywatch lifeguard car out of it. We
Yeah.
photographed it, and then I was sitting around, and I thought, let me look into the model and this Veep, and then I found out it's the same body as the White Willie from Tamiya.
Oh, really?
And the construction, the build of the White Willie was much bigger and much better than the Sand Scorcher, because we had to build a frame that clears. And this is why I bought all these tires, because the White Willie has also pedal tracks.
Oh, yeah,
We
yeah,
made
yeah.
a friend of mine milled out from billet aluminum the wheel centers for the wheels, and we made those big lug nuts and all that, and a custom frame, and it went to this collection. Then I built him half of another sand scorcher, and then I said I'd say our relationship got difficult, because we restored one or two buggies in between, and this, the costs went out of, I don't know. We better would have used new body shelves,
Right.
but so we never finished. But his friends in the UK finished the second sand scorcher, and you can tell the stance is not right. The front indicators are the wrong ones. So there's a second car that we started with the body kit and the stickers. Um, that's in Atlanta in the UK, or in Hamburg in this collection with the Wild Willie.
And
And
when you built a sand scorcher, what was there a particular Baja kit that you used for it?
no, we made our own. Well, we parts of what I found, and junkyards, and then we restored these parts, and we had Rob Killam in the UK making molds from our restored parts from the rear fender. The rear fenders were custom and speed parts, 10 centimeter wide, and fenders that we cut into shape and modified to achieve the look of the box art, and also the front bumper. It's all made by us, and so
So
we did this. And the other day, we moved into this new building, bigger building, building the Wild Willie, and I had no office yet because when I finished with the work, so I was sitting in kind of in the entrance after the entrance door, and some like Arab-looking guy walked in with also a beige coat, and I can a moonwash jeans and a white shirt,
Yeah.
t-shirt with the Levi's print on the front, and I thought it's somebody, trying to sell me carpets or, sharpen my knives or
Right. Right.
something like that. You're a traveling dealer, we call it. And he said in a very poor English, he said, "I sent you email yesterday," and I said, "I don't know." So I remember there was an email, and I thought it's spam, so I didn't pay attention. I erased it, and his I remember his name. His name is Saleh Almari,
Yeah.
and I still didn't know what he wants. And then he said, I'm coming from. He he explained he was near Stuttgart at a restoration shop restoring for Mercedes, like Galvings and 600s and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was buying parts and checking the restoration on cars for his boss. And when the chauffeur came in his suit with the Evian bottle in his arm, I knew this is serious. Okay,
Right.
right? So uh, I said, so what do we need to do? He wants to look at some Samba, what we do with Volkswagens, and so I showed him the workshop, and the workshop was pretty big, and we had 5 or 6 Samba buses there, and working on them, and he was impressed, and I said, "Where are you from?" And he said, "I'm from Qatar." I said, "Okay." I got this email a couple months ago from this gentleman named from Qatar, and he said, "Oh yeah, that's my boss. It's the Sultan. It's the king."
Oh, really?
And I said, "All right." He wanted to buy the sand scorcher, and I didn't have it anymore because I sold it, but I suggested to build him another one with a big engine and specs he wanted, kind of in terms of engine and stuff. But he never replied, and he said, "No, no, if he can't buy it at this moment, he's no more interested." So we
Oh,
sent parts for the buses for the Sultan
yeah.
to Qatar later through this connection, and this is what the sand scorcher can do. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. It's
You
crazy
know,
that what one beetle does over, so much time just to, just something that was a toy back then, but it's connected to so many of us when we're young that we see things. In other words, the magazine that you remember, the one from VW Trends, it's November 88 with the girl with the black hat and it's called Cat's Rag is the feature. That is that's the first magazine for me. That exact issue was the one that, like, I kept it. I still have the one from the first time I have it. My mom wrote someone's phone number on the cover or whatever as a notepad, but I still have it because
bad.
that
I still have
picture,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
me
but
too. Yeah,
but that picture, it's like, I need that car. I need to build a car like that. If I have a car
yeah,
like that, I'm going to be cool. I'm going to get a girl like that. You know what I mean? Like, when we're young, we have these connections to where we see these things and they just get, it's different. And I almost feel bad for kids nowadays because they're flooded with so much information on social media that they'll see things for just an impression. And when we were kids, you would have one magazine. I've had that magazine for almost 40 years. And it's
or a
because
book.
that
Yeah,
picture meant so
yeah,
much to me of what I could
yeah.
have, what I could build, what I could get one day if, I was because I'm trying to live that life that I saw in that picture, and the thing with the sand scorcher, these guys had these cars and they would think one day I'm going to build a car like this or have that car. So I think that's why it connects with so many people where we just see something and it becomes something that we pursue so much, And for
Mm-hmm.
us, like, you know, a lot of us guys in this hobby, most of us are doing Volkswagens because we don't come from money. Our families weren't wealthy, and we had to build what we
Right.
wanted to have,
Right.
you
But
know?
there's always this one thing in your entire life. No matter if you have good times or bad times or money or not, it's the hobby, it's the Volkswagen, and you can never get rid of it, right?
No,
It's this one stable.
yeah, I agree. And I think what's interesting is I don't believe there's any more fitting name for the car for the hobby that we have. You know what I mean? It's truly there could. I don't know of any other vehicle. I don't believe there's one, especially the
No.
Volkswagen, that is the platform
Mm,
that serves so many different aspects of the hobby, from the vintage guy to Baja guys to everything in
mhm,
between, and has
mhm.
such a universal base that there's someone from every different line of world in the hobby, from the sultans, you know, to the
Mhm,
to the kid that's getting the
mhm.
rat
Everybody
looker,
likes it. Yeah. Yeah.
you
I mean,
know.
I work for collection. There's cars for millions, and there's always a Volkswagen. You know, it doesn't matter if it's Ferraris or Mercedes or Porsches or whatever. There's always Volkswagens. There's always something uh, related to Volkswagen. A couple days ago, I talked to my friend Blue Nelson, and you might have heard the name
Yep, yep.
on the phone. We're the same age, where we met in the late '90s, and we're like there was times where we were like brothers, and we still, yeah, we had good and bad. But um, I said, "Oh, I'm gonna be on a podcast," and he said, "Oh, that's cool." And I said, and he said, "You've done so much in your life, and not many people know, what impact you had and what you." And I said, "Yeah, well, I mean, I did things because I wanted it. I wanted it to do, not because I
Right.
saw the big money behind the big business. It was I did things because I wanted to be the first one who had an air ride beetle in Germany. When air cooled in the US built these air ride kits. I did my
Right.
own air ride kit. Um, Also, always with the aspect in mind, you need to go to the TÜV. You need to make it street legal. So it's always more, uh, more stable, yeah, more difficult to do. But he said, and we were talking about the magazine features and the Instagram world, and he said, when I told somebody, uh, when you're worth it to be printed in a magazine, then when people spend money for the paper and go go out and prepay the print process for and you have a couple of pages in a magazine, that's big money in our days. So you kind of did something cool.
Well,
when
it's
when it's on Instagram, a picture on Instagram costs nothing. So you're famous with your Instagram picture. It doesn't mean a lot. People can be instant famous with their whatever creation they did if it's shared on Instagram. We only had print media and then the Skynet blogs and internet site, and I feel like nobody's interested anymore to look at any internet site.
yeah,
We don't have a lot of,
it's
lot of
changed
things.
quite a bit, but I think, when all those years are, after all these years that go by, I mean, even look at, with what I'm doing, the podcast that I'm doing, I'm over 300 episodes, and I'm tracking down people that were in a magazine one
Hmm.
time. And I'm talking to a guy who, the last issue with Tony Hunter, I had dinner with him 2 weeks ago at the Grand National Roadster Show, and he did the ZZ
Hmm.
Top Bug, the chop top one, the one in,
Hmm.
in the East Coast. And it's like, he's 18 years old, and it's
The red
him.
the red car.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
his car he built himself on the cover with his girlfriend in a bikini, and it's like he's 18. It's like, what do you do
Hmm.
after that when you're
Hmm.
18, right? Like the bar is set so high for people like us, And
Mhm.
it's like your dream is achieved to be in the magazine or to get recognized by your peers for what you've done. Although we do it for our own individuality, but it's also we're part of this hobby where we not only are we trying to get inspired by the hobby, but we're also trying to contribute back to it by recreating these cars, bringing them, putting them back out on the road, or building something unique and different. You know,
and
so
and these and the print media. Yeah, well, we had subscriptions on Hot VWs and Trends and Volkswagen and Super VW from France, and we could not wait until the next issue comes, with the latest creations, and then when we got featured from like 2000 onwards, it was super interesting to see how the feature turned out, and then when another funny story about when I felt it now it changes was when well, Stefan Bau took always most of the time took the pictures from my cars to sell worldwide, but bring
yeah,
it to what was it called, the German magazine, Speed magazine,
uh-huh.
and so he did the photo shoot on the sand scorcher, and I called Speed magazine, and there were new editor, new whatever. That was 2010, right? And I said, "You want to do the feature? I heard Stefan Bau ask you," and he said, "No, no, I don't know why." And they said, "Oh, our readers don't want Baja Beetles. But I think we don't have the clients for this kind of car."
Right.
Real. So that's when I think the other Volkswagen, the water cooled community gets stronger, and there was less air cooled. And I think it was a wrong decision because the car was featured all over the place, but not in Germany. We never had a feature in Germany. But two months after we debuted the car, we had 1,200,000 hits on Google
Yeah, it's
or
crazy.
Yahoo or whatever it was,
Yeah.
and even in Russia there was a TV show showing a video clip that we did while we were at the photo shoot, and so it was unbelievable. It was worldwide phenomenon to do this car. The Wild Willy was good too, but as well, but this and Fox and Speed magazine, no, we don't we don't want to do a feature on this one. Okay, well.
Yeah,
And now,
it's interesting. It's sometimes it's the editors, it's different people have different connections and interests in the hobby, but
younger,
yeah,
he maybe was in the 30s. He didn't know what we're talking about.
yeah.
He
Well,
should, but so I then at one point I shut down I sold the building and put everything in storage, and
what
I
made you do that?
too much stress. I really looked bad. I mean, I felt this was in 15,
Yeah,
so 10 years ago, mid 40s. Uh, I never felt that bad in my entire life before and after. I could.
really.
It was like everything's out of control. I said, okay, the next person who walks in and talks shit, I'm gonna kill. This kind of feeling, put an axe in the forehead, and so I don't know what to do. I sell the building. We've worked for one more year, finish projects. I buy a tractor, a lawnmower, and move to the south of France, and I'm gonna cut the grass of some villas down there.
Really.
That was the feeling, and to me, it was in my head. It was the only way out. So we moved to the south of France. I put everything in storage. I sold nothing except for the building. I put everything at my friend's on this place in storage, um, then we lived in the south of France for 5 years, and then people like Maurice from Clifton Clark and customers came and said, "Oh, you cannot do gardening." I said, "Why not? I can do a lot of stuff, you know." No, you
Right.
can.
What are you wasting your
Mr. Hahn
talent?
can.
You wasting your talent in the grass over here. What are you doing?
Yeah, your network, you know, you're doing this for so long. Even Randy Carlson, I believe, said, or Blue Nelson. Blue Nelson said, "Move to the US." I said, "What the fuck I'm gonna do there?" He said, "You're German. People appreciate you're German and your talent and work, you know. I'm
Right.
here open, do the same." But and I said, I don't, it's no. I'm going to the south of France. So we moved to Côte d'Azur. And then they talked to me and said, "You cannot do gardening, but you should to stay within the scene, and you have a couple of good customers." And the bummer was I had really good collections that we were restoring and building cars for, but I did not have the opportunity to work on their cars. But I had a network of people that I know forever, that I know they are specialized in engine building, in paintwork, in this and that. So I started to manage projects, and I was flying every day, every week from the Nice airport to some place in Europe, mostly Germany, to manage collections, to manage restorations, because they know I'm 100% quality person. So um, then we started to bring uh, the cars, the cars in the collections to the best specialized shop in Germany or in France. And for example, you have a inspection of a Porsche 959. Okay, no Porsche dealership can do it, but you have to find a Porsche dealership or a workshop who has more than this one client with a 959, who has the tools, who has the guy who knows, who has the knowledge, the workshop manuals, whatever, for this special car. And this is what I did. I found these workshops. We started to work with Alois Ruf for some cars, and for
Really?
example, and we became friends and got good connections, and they knew that I know what I'm talking about. And I think this is the essential thing, that you're not some kind of storyteller, but people will Google you today. They will look on your Instagram and figure out what you're doing, and what you have done, if you're qualified or whatever. And I did this for 5 years, and it was fun. But I felt, and I was trading cars and selling cars, making collections better. And but I felt like I need to go back to Germany, to my hometown. And then there was the COVID thing going on. I sat in this house in south of France. We could not do anything, just stare on the water. And the Mediterranean Sea was closed. There was no boats, no nothing. We could not go to the beach. Beach was closed. It's only 20 meters from the house, but I could walk my dogs. And the first day, the French were allowed to travel more than 100 kilometers. I jumped in my car, hooked up my trailer with all the household stuff, and went back to Germany. I already had this place I'm now, and I moved in, and I had 2 years of putting everything in place, and it's quite cozy and good. And I started the restorations again, and what I'm doing is still managing, but I'm also taking dismantling the stuff and putting together, and taking care of the smaller pieces,
So,
mechanically
so really, I
and
mean,
stuff.
because that's really the part where most restoration shops have trouble, right? Is the management. Like, there's a lot of good
And
artists that
what?
can do the management of the shop is the difficult
Yeah,
part,
people cannot communicate. The good craftsmen cannot communicate.
right?
They're not able to pick up the phone. They can't. This is trouble. it means trouble, really.
No, and honestly, like I did my car with Andy at Spikes, and it's not often like Andy and I are better friends after the restoration than before the restoration. And I think it has to do with, we communicated a lot during the restoration. I mean, every day we're on the phone, we're about, and even with between ideas and all this kind of stuff. And, the part of the thing for me was to see how excited he was to do the work on the car. You know what I mean? Like he was motivated and it's one thing when you're seeing some stuff and the guy sends you a bill, but you see he's been doing work, he's getting things done. It's not like you don't feel like he's just sending you an invoice because he needs money. You know what I mean? Because sometimes when
up
you're
front,
correct.
Yeah, you pay me 50 grand and then I start.
Yeah.
Whenever.
Yeah. No. And that's, and for me, it was funny because he doesn't do business that way. But when I said, listen, you're going to start on the car, I'm just going to send you some money because I want you to stay motivated, stay on the car and get it done. It was the first time that anybody had done that. But, with that, he'd felt pressure from me that he needed to get working on the car just by me, doing that. But, it's interesting because most relationships turn out, I tell people all the time, if you want to get a car, save yourself fighting with the upholstery guy, fighting with the painter, fighting with the body guy, fighting with the engine builder. Just go buy it finished. Go buy the car finished. You can enjoy
the best one out there.
Yeah, enjoy it tomorrow. Change the wheels, call it your car, and be done with it. Because again, but most of the guys like us, we start from we buy the car from nothing. We build our dream, and we have to prove I did this, I did that. And I'm now to an age where I want to enjoy the cars. I don't want to spend 20 years, 10 years building a car, because when you're finally done, no amount of time when you commit that level of time, is there a payoff where it's like, well, this was rewarding. This is great. This is, it's like you're done with the car and you're a little upset. You had this go wrong and redid that and refixed this, so I think.
But there's different aspects to the, I was not good in talking to people for many years, but I had to learn. I had to go through this, and I have one employee now, or one person that constantly works with me is Marcus, doing all the back office, all the invoice stuff, everything that has to do with money, because I don't like it. And then you can focus. If you have somebody you trust and he takes away this shitty part of the business, then you can focus on other things. And then when you're not in the competition, which I'm not, you have your clients, you have your customers, people that trust you. And in my case, it's like 5, 6, or 7, and I don't need any more, because I don't want to get used to another client and his way of dealing and thinking. I'm good, But what I want to say, and then one or the other will call me and say, Walter, I bought this and that car. You have to help me. And I will say, why didn't you call me before you bought the car?
Right.
Because how much is it for me to go inspect what he wants to buy? It always pays up. It's 1,000 or 1,500. But how much is 1,050 or 1,500 in metalwork? How many hours? So this is the biggest mistake. The desire of having something. We restored an SP2. To the quality level we do, right?
Yeah.
The most expensive SP2 in the world, more than 200,000 euro.
Yikes.
With new NOS side panels from A post to the end, and the car was nice looking, yellow, but it had so much Bondo I've never seen on anything like that before.
Well, it's from
But
Brazil.
it was a nice looking car.
Yes. It's from Brazil. I think every car in Brazil, it's mandatory for the government. They have to have Bondo. Man.
Yes, I think that you had a podcast about Brazilian
Oh
import,
yeah. Yeah.
and I didn't listen to it yet, but I will.
Yeah.
But we could have the same conversation today, the same length of a podcast of me telling a story about Brazilian import cars, and then at one point I said, well, we're not taking on any work on Brazilian buses any longer.
Yeah.
When and I had this from the very beginning when the first one came over, and I said, "Well, there were taxis. Your car had been rolled over," and he said, "No." I said, "Well, I'll show you."
Yeah.
So, but this also killed the market of the bus market.
Right.
Another thing in my life is I sold the most expensive buses. Really, I mean,
Yeah.
at a time. I sold the most expensive Samba twice, and then some.
What's the most expensive Samba?
Back then, it was like 220 or so
Yeah.
euro, and then I sold a mouse gray walkthrough 23 window, and then I sold a turquoise 14,000 mile one from
Mm-hmm.
the US through Doug Denlinger.
Yeah.
So you can imagine. I mean, I know what a good car is, and I know what good quality is, and many cars, more expensive cars, were sold behind, not officially. Nobody knows the numbers, and
Yeah.
well, Bondo Sambas 400,000 or something, um, but that's the deal. And now, this 20, a good 21 window was 120 maybe, and now there's like 75. Hard to sell. The
Yeah.
medium and the bad quality you never sell. There's
Yeah.
a market for good cars, but
There's too much
a
on the
lot
market.
less.
Now,
Yeah,
the Kittyland Fire Department bus that you had, is that the one that Randy had?
yes.
And did you do much? Did you have to do much work on that one?
Uh, I had an argument with Randy about it, and I don't want to go deep into it because I like him too much.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. No,
Okay, but
yeah,
it is what it is, and this is we had this point in the beginning of our call, our podcast or your podcast today,
yeah.
um, that in Germany you have different regulations, and if you have a hole in the floor, you don't get to drive your car on the street.
Right.
So we all have. Uh,
A different
how,
standard, a different standard that's acceptable.
yeah, we think different about things, right? So in the US, because I've dealt a lot with people in the US. Uh, in the US, um, something street legal is still good. If it has a hole, it's a hole because the car's 70 years old or 60.
Right.
But we have
Germany,
different
it's
expectations,
not allowed. Yeah, it's not allowed.
But if I would call a friend of mine who sells a car, and I say, "Hey, it's not for me; it's for a customer. What kind of work do I expect when the car is here that I have to carry out? Because it's just me and maybe one of my friends helping, but it's not only the cost, but it's this thing with unexpected work that's blocking my normal workshop life.
Right.
It's holding me up for a month or two or three or whatever. So I'd rather pay more, or I'd rather buy it anyways, but I know exactly what to expect when it arrives here. And this didn't happen. And um, I met him in Goodwood, and I did. We're still friends, but I didn't want to talk to him about it because it yeah, it still makes me angry. But it is what it is. Maybe it was just a in the best case, it's a misunderstanding. But
Well,
it's cool.
yeah.
It's a nice car. But in the end, what it costs in the end, it was. I don't feel it's worth it.
Right.
Um, but we had taken it to the 70th anniversary or no? It did the Volkswagen Bus anniversary in Hanover,
Yeah.
and people liked it, and now it's sitting there, and I don't know. There's 75 years this year at the Salzburg Ring. Maybe it will sit there with the Auwerter, with the Carlux
Oh, really?
together, presented. I really don't know. We have not talked about it yet.
And you bought that for
But
you bought it for a customer. You bought it for you.
no, I bought for a custom.
Yeah.
I don't need things anymore. I have enough.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, I recently had a circumstance. Same thing. There was a bit of a misunderstanding, and sometimes people are much more casual when they say, "Oh yeah, it doesn't need much. It's pretty good," and then you get it and you say, "Well, whose definition of doesn't need much is this?" So clarification and communication, and that's probably what's made you a better manager of projects, is because you'll tell a customer, this is what this is going to cost you. Are you willing to spend this up front? Because it could go from here to here. And let's just yes or no now, versus one guy's hungry. He needs the job. He's trying to get the work, needs the deposit, and
Sometimes you get things, you get cars here, and you have the feeling, okay, he told you a story because he needed the money,
right.
So it's not an honest deal, because be honest, I buy it anyways, but I need to know what to expect.
Well, yeah.
And
I just had something like that happen with, so I have a guy that I know through Instagram. He's doing some metal work for, this is what I do all day, every day. Someone says to me, "Hey, who do you know that can send me to do metal work?" So I refer this guy, and I said, "Yeah, this guy, he does the work really quick." So the guy from my referral goes to see this guy. Now they have a problem, and it's frustrating on my part because I'm just trying to help two people out, a guy who needs work and a guy who needs work done. And the problem is, no one ever has the conversation up front saying, I don't want to spend more than this, or this is my timeline to get it done. And I understand expedited time costs extra money. And so that's the part that makes the business sometimes a little bit unfun with the restorations.
So for the restorations I'm doing now, we don't have a budget, right? Because I feel like for certain vehicles, for certain cars, you cannot work with a budget. What does it bring? If you have a workshop you trust, or you have a manager for the project like me, that's communicating with well, I would never do a Mercedes or BMW because I don't know about them.
Right.
Those cars, yeah. But I could manage a restoration on a Ferrari, because I know what quality means, right? So
right.
I could go there, talk to people, and it's all the same. But if you trust people, then it costs, what it takes, and what I'm not telling people it's 50 grand if I know it's 100 just to take on the job, because in the end, we will fall out. We will no longer be friends after this.
Yeah, and that's
and the question, when is it gonna be finished? How much more is it gonna cost? This is something I don't want to hear.
Yeah, well, and also you're not building a 1970 Beetle that has no value to it other than someone's sentimental value.
Absolutely.
You're building cars that are one of one or very low mileage.
For people that don't have to be sensible,
correct,
on the cost in the end.
Yeah.
If you cannot, if I'm building something like that for somebody who's sensible and he cannot pay because he simply does not have the money, what does it help?
Yeah.
So
no, it takes all kinds. And as the hobbies evolved, from you doing lowering jobs to airbags to now building these all-water buses, you know what I mean? They're, what is that? How do you call it? Auwerter?
Auwerter.
The Auwerter bus. I mean, those are kind of wild looking. I mean, that's got to be something really, really cool to drive that thing around.
Next time you come, to
Yeah.
Europe, Germany. We go and sit in one and drive it. Okay,
Yeah, that's wild.
so
Yeah.
that you see. Yeah. Well, and then at a point, like you said, what there's a point where I figured when I came back, I figured, well, the back from south of France, and I started to work again with cars more intensively.
Hmm.
I figured I don't want to do custom stuff because I don't want to deal with the officials anymore. So I'm pretty good in uh, doing original stuff,
Right.
and so we well when I started, I never thought I would have any joy in driving a
Original.
standard or stock Beetle or original Bond Samba or whatever because it's so slow.
Yeah.
And but this is something the hunt, everything's around a restoration, finding parts for, and what we're doing mostly is prototypes of very low production number cars.
Yeah, and it's pretty exciting because you look at, you have to kind of say, okay, where did they come up with the dome light for this? And sometimes it's
Hmm.
really obscure, handmade, or they got it off the shelf from an Alfa Romero or whatever. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
What is the most interesting thing that you found through all those challenges where you thought something was impossible to find? You said, "Oh yeah, it's the part from this car." Is there anything that comes to
I
mind
know.
when you?
It's some NOS Twitter convertible parts for the Twitter itself
Mhm.
was built from October to March only.
Yeah.
But I feel like every day something changed. If it was the air cleaner, nobody can tell. And there's so many different opinions. And I don't go, in this Facebook forums
Yeah,
where
Fazolitters.
there's all these specialists. I quit. I let them discuss. There's no tomorrow. And then they will come up with a picture where you see the split air cleaner on a Twitter, and then this book shows this, and it's all very interesting, but not for me.
Right.
So there's different ways, and I believe, well, we all did not live in 52. All right,
Right.
so or the only few of us maybe, but um, nobody knows how it really was. But I have friends who could not finish a project or go on if they don't have all the correct Chemex bolts for this and that restoration.
Yeah.
And I found out with all these original cars,
Hmm.
we did a Twitter convertible, early one.
Yeah.
Uh,
Original car you
and
started with, unrestored.
no, there's a big challenge. Front and rear end accident,
Ugh.
and like restored or fixed in the 60s with to make it look like a 65. So you
Ay,
had
ay,
to
ay.
find front and rear um,
The
engine
clips.
lid and hood and aprons and fenders and all kinds of that stuff. But it was never off the floor pan. So I had I had all these original floor pan bolts, and I looked at them, and one side was Comax, or one half was Comax, and the other half was whatever. So Volkswagen had different suppliers for bolts because there were one supplier only could not handle the demand of Volkswagen. So on the left side of the belt, assembly belt, this one guy had the bolts from this company. On the other
Right.
side, the guy really, I mean, this
Yeah.
is what it was. So if people tell me, oh, you can, correct on this car is left side this, right side this, and also the story. There's a good, but and it's my own story. The story about the Volkswagen hood crest,
Yeah.
the four brick,
The four
uh,
tab or the.
the four brick for Wolfsburg crest with on the hood. And some people try to tell you, oh, this is correct only for this and that year or this and that month. I don't believe, because there's Volkswagen used for the base of the logo of the crest. They used different companies to make the aluminum base, and they used different enamel companies for the crest. So
So they could
one
change
company made it
same. So
with
on the
3 bricks and the other one with 4 bricks, and it has nothing to do with the month the car was built in.
no,
Maybe on the same assembly line they use 3 and 4 brick. Could be, but this is my opinion. So
yeah.
I think in most cases where there's big arguments online,
Well,
everybody's right or everybody's wrong.
well, you have to figure, right? Volkswagen was building a production car that was high volume, and they had to keep up with production. So all bets are off. Anything could change, and especially during transition years. Like I don't know if you listened to the podcast I did with Dean Kirsten and Frenchie about the big Windows Witter, the 67, right?
I have a 67 US convertible. Don't tell me.
But you know what I mean?
I'm a pro.
All the 1 year only parts that they have on those cars, and these are transition year parts. Volkswagens, when you have to figure they're
The door
building
handles. Oh no, they're not 66. It's different.
right. Yeah. Well, you figure Volkswagen, if you go from the corporate side, they're getting ready to launch the new model in 68. The 67, they tried to make some changes. It's all been scrapped. They're building the 68 now. So it's like we've got all these oddball pieces and parts, and the car in the 1 year production has different parts and pieces everywhere, and sometimes they don't match. You know what I mean? Or there may be early 67, late 67. So, and that was just all part of business, right? Which supplier has the voltage regulators? This one, let's get it, let's go. We'll make it work.
But if you start 67, you have to bear in mind there's Euro 67 and US 67. And it's even more difficult for us. We had different engines in
standards
67.
and sunroofs and all that stuff. Four lug.
We have 1500s, 4-lug disc brake.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you guys are even more screwed over there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I own this convertible for 20 years. I bought it in San Francisco, Java Green, and I had a 66 because I could not find a 67 Caleb car.
Wow.
For the Bavarian bomber, for the Caleb guy built. I knew very early what the 67 is and what it means, and I collect parts. And I had my car for 15 years, and then 2 years ago we started restoring the car, and it's a Caleb, big engine and
now,
Fuchs
you still enjoy a good custom Volkswagen for not to build, but one that you have? You have one in your collection?
I do this convertible that I always wanted to do, and everybody said you have to leave it because the original paint, Java Green. I said no, fuck it, it's my car.
Right.
It's gonna be Porsche blue, Orbit blue, and it's gonna have a red interior. It's gonna have this and that. And I don't care because it's my car. It's my personal car. I do what I want.
Yeah.
And I still enjoy, but I have to make an exact plan of the restoration of the work because it's just me. If I work on my own car, I cannot do work on my customer car.
Right.
And I'm full. I've not been away on holiday for the last, 6-7 months, maybe. It's every day I'm doing something for somebody. I have a 914 with a hot rod engine, 2.1, big horsepower.
Yes. 6-cylinder or 4-cylinder?
A 4-cylinder, a 2-liter black car.
Yes.
Very original car, but big engine and 5-lug Fuchs.
Nice.
That I like. My girlfriend has a lowered Beetle. I have a stock 65 Survivor and some other stuff. But if I might build another Baja. I have a Baja, a base Baja, a 63 ragtop that was built in the 70s in the US, and it's raced. It has a full cage and everything.
Nice.
6 shocks in the rear, and pretty nice project. And I'm waiting for one of my customers to finally jump on the train and tell me, do the best, coolest Baja there is out there, at
Yeah.
least in Europe.
Yeah, that would be
And
cool.
and that's why I started to do Baja Skin, which is a Baja kit that exactly fits. Uh, and you don't need to modify. You put it on the car, you install the Baja kit within 1 hour. It has perfect gaps and stuff, because I'm just not satisfied with the crap you can buy.
Right.
And
So you're
and
selling
now
those kits?
we made 10 kits.
Mm-hmm.
5 went to Palmethurst in the UK,
Mm-hmm.
and the molds and the other 5 kits I have. And now I'm looking for somebody in Germany to make the kits for me, but with certificates. We need in order to register the car, to make the street legal, we need to make certificates for the strengths of the fiberglass and stuff, and how break if it breaks, how it breaks and stuff. And
Oh, really?
so it's difficult. And before that, I'm not going to sell anything here, because I want it's a high quality product, so it has a good price,
Right.
and I and if it's not finished, it's no, I'm not going to sell it. It just sits here.
Yeah.
But I I have the feeling that I need to do this custom. And the last custom I did, I just finished 2 weeks ago, was a trailer for my old Manx buggy that I sold when I came back from south of France. I didn't need it anymore because we have shit weather in Germany.
Yeah.
I sold to a suitcase manufacturer in Munich. The company name is Floyd. They're making cool, like colorful and metal flake suitcases, and their company color is orange, so it was a nice fit. And they bought the car, and the other day they bought a vintage Honda three-wheeler from me, Honda ATC 185. And then they said, oh, we need a trailer behind the buggy. So I built from scratch a trailer, and we debuted it at the show. And it was such a relief for me to, when they say, you don't have to send me pictures all the time. I know exactly that you know what you're doing, and it will be perfect. So all out, we built this trailer for a lot of money, and it took a lot of thinking, but I think it's exactly what was in my mind before, and how it turned out, and everybody's satisfied. And uh, this is something that goes away from restoring just stock cars,
Right.
and I need this from time to time,
Yeah. Just
working on a custom motorcycle, or do this, and
a
just
f-
to live out the I don't know.
yeah.
It's difficult.
No, that's
But
awesome.
yeah, but in the beginning, you asked me about the razor paddles, right? You
Yeah.
wanna
Yeah. So
you wanna hear that?
you're manufacturing the razor panels too, right?
Yes, it's a hobby. We don't make money, but I was like I said, the first car I bought off Peter Fried was a razor, a sunroof razor, when I was 18 years old. And and I had, at one point, I said, I think I had like 20 of them. My
Razors.
dad and me were buying razors in the 90s because they were cheap. Nobody wanted them.
Right.
So we had like 15 or 20 razors at one point, same time.
Wow.
And then I I resold them because I found out, you cannot buy parts. And that was like in 1998 or 97. You could not, some rubbers, but no sheet metal, and what there was no good. And NOS parts you could not find. There was no internet. So I kept the best car, and I sold the rest. And most of them I sold to my friend Ernst in Vienna, and they did did Austrian restoration on them, and painted them in bright colors, and they were magazines, so it was okay. We had big fun,
Right.
low cost fun. And the other day, I sold this last car, and I was no more interested. I always liked the car, like you do. It to me, this is the most beautiful and special Volkswagen. And if I want to own one for myself and drive, I buy the best on the market.
Right.
I would never restore one, never.
It's a deep hole.
And
It's a very deep hole.
it is. And I in a couple of minutes, you will know how deep it could be. So I I was not taking care. I thought, okay, there's nothing out there in a price range that I could afford, or price quality value. And one day I went into a collection. I did a car for them, and the owner said, I have some more cars from my dad, and
Yeah.
downstairs in the basement. You want to look at them? And I said, yeah, okay. So he opened the gate, and there were some Porsches and Volkswagen stuff. And I said, oh, there's a Kia convertible. He said, yeah, I have this common Kia. And I saw it was sitting in the very back corner, and I saw it's a Razor convertible.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, okay, how many do exist? I
Sure.
was thinking. And I went to the car, and it had the round door glass, and I knew it's a real car. It's not a Lawrence or a
Yeah,
custom or
it's got the
something.
rounded glass for the convertible top.
The door, the back end of the door glass is rounded for the
Right.
for the convertible door.
Yeah. Yeah. So you realize it's a real convertible, has to be one of the prototypes.
Yes, and it was restored, so the wood material was wrong, and thick paint and stuff, but it was the real deal. Okay,
Nice.
so I did some more cars for him, and the other day I said we need to get into this car, because I'm getting older and older, and I know a lot about these cars, and I started early, so it's a big deal. But I know people. I can get parts, and rubbers were manufactured, and Mario had his headquarter. So with some razor parts and the mechanical parts, Type 3 is no issue. So we stripped the car. We started, and we found out it's the body number 5 out of 12 cars.
Oh wow.
It's the earliest existing one as a complete car. That means matching flop end, because I think the silver car from Volkswagen is the earliest body, the first body, but it's painted silver, and it has an automatic flop end of a late Type 3 or something.
Yeah, and the bodies didn't always match the chassis number as far as production, right, on the Type 3s?
Well, the chassis was a Type 3 chassis, so there was following numbers, and it didn't matter if it's a Razor or a Type 3.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like the chassis numbers, correct,
You
aren't.
could not tell. Yeah,
Yeah, they're not really.
I believe these cars, because they were built in '61 and then given away by Kaumann or Volkswagen to the dealers in '63. They stamped the chassis numbers before they gave them away in '63. Otherwise, they would have 61 chassis number. That's what I believe.
That's
right?
interesting. Yeah.
So, and they kept the cars as prototypes, and they changed everything. They changed on the coupe. In those 2 years, they changed on the convertible. So the outside mirror, the logo on the bonnet, on the front, the script on the back. They changed all these things because they wanted to keep the convertible modern with the production of the coupe.
So you're saying that these weren't these prototypes were built as like a sales example to go out to the dealership floors to interest people to
Yes,
buy a convertible.
there was something that I call the last attempt,
Yeah.
because from what I know, Volkswagen put a lot of invest in the prototypes, right? And then Carman came up and said, "Oh, for every car you sell, we now need 50 Deutschmarks more." And at one point, Volkswagen simply said, "No, fuck it. We put too much in it. We now stop the whole thing, and we give 9 of the 12 cars out to the biggest dealerships in Germany."
So they gave them to them under what pretense? Like, we're not going to build this car. You can have it if you want it.
You put them in the showroom, and we will see if you can gather interest or no.
So
it was
most of
kind
them,
of a
so most of them would have been owned by dealers. They would own the car.
all of them. The blue car that Grundman has is the only blue car. This car was for Bisco, who was the head of the prototype
Really?
at Karmann at that time.
Interesting.
Johannes Bisco, working for Romesh.
The same Bisco that was working for Romesh.
Yeah, banana. And he liked blue cars. That's why they did a blue car for him. This is the only one. The rest, the other 11 cars were all white, black roof, red interior.
That's crazy.
And when they were given out to the dealers in '63, they were completely like a '63 coupe with, the mirrors and everything was like a '63 coupe, not like a '61. Elephant ear mirror, no cat eye, or no cat ear, stuff like that.
Interesting.
Which is a bummer. So they tested the waters at Raffaele in Hamburg, Max Moritz in Reutlingen, Hahn in Stuttgart, Mahak in Munich, and some others, and but nobody would buy the car for that amount of money. So it was simply too expensive.
What were they selling
and
for?
And it's still weak. Say it again?
What was the price they were selling for?
I have no idea. I don't know. And so what must have happened is that some dealers kept them. If they paid for them or not, I don't know.
Yeah,
but I know that Hahn has kept this car.
So this one is
Morris has kept the car.
This one is the one that you're doing is for the Hahn dealership?
It is the original Max Moritz car.
Oh, really?
Because the Hahn car was sold.
They sold to a customer?
Say it again?
They sold it to an actual customer?
No, they sold it to, I think, the nanny or so. He told me the story, but his father sold the car to one relative or whatever. And then he regret selling the car. And when Max Moritz went bankrupt, he bought the car of Max Moritz.
Oh, wow.
And then they tried to restore it in the dealership, but it did not work out very good.
So
now we're restoring the car.
How many convertibles exist?
The official number is 5. We know of a 6 car, but it's not available. There's 2 cars at Volkswagen, a white one with chrome 356 wheels, and the silver one, a non-original silver one. Then the blue one at Grundmann's. Then Jörg Fischer owns the ex-Hahn car, and this car we're doing, the Max Moritz one. 5 cars, original cars.
That's wild. Well,
and the only completely private one is owned by Jörg Fischer, and he knows the most about those cars.
Oh, really?
I mean, he talked. I talked to him in Hesse-Scholdendorf a couple of years ago, and he talked back in the day, he talked to the workers at Karmann who built the cars when they were still alive.
Oh, really?
So he has a lot of documentation, I believe. Difficult to talk to him.
Yeah.
difficult person,
Yeah.
but a lot of knowledge, and
Yeah. Maybe we
we
maybe ought
could
to
need his help, but I can't get a hold of him.
maybe ought to track him down and record
I,
that conversation.
yeah, we're trying for like a year to get a hold of him, and he's not responding.
Yeah.
But doesn't matter. Um, I have solutions for everything.
Right.
So
Right.
I'm used to it. But as we're doing the car, this convertible, I said, okay, what's the best, because the bodywork was poor,
Hmm.
and I said I tried to buy NOS sheet metal as much as I can. So I bought, whenever something showed up, I bought fenders and aprons and front and hood and doors and stuff. You
Hmm.
know. So in the end, we had like half of a car we could build NOS.
Wow.
And Chris said it's a bummer we're cutting parts out of a side panel, because you want to keep as much of the original material. Um, so we're throwing the rest of NOS fender away. And I said, what do you want to do? I can replicate. I can do a repro.
Yeah.
Okay, how are we doing this? So I went and visit him, and we talked about these things. And I said, okay, so we're making a mold, uh, we're making a negative, and then we have somebody mill out a buck from that, uh, and then you hammer this piece over. Yeah, okay. I said, if you do one, you can do 100. And he said, yes, yeah, possible. Um, so I was trying to, and I don't want to talk bad about other people, but there were in between the production of the razor and razor skin
Yeah.
repair panels, there was not much, right?
Hmm.
And people did their best to do some kind of sheet metal.
Yeah.
I ordered it all, and I was glad to return it when I looked at it.
You were
Okay.
disappointed in the quality that you saw.
Yes. So well, I'm happy that we could return, but so then I started to buy this NOS sheet metal from all over the world, and and uh, and then, for example, last Neufer, Bob, BBT, I explained what we're doing, and they were helpful, and they gave me this stuff and sold it to me for fair price, some of it. So we made the box, and Chris and Lucas started to make these things, these panels for this car. And I said, okay, if Lucas goes ahead and does this and that, and then we knew what everybody what's the most necessary part, this like rocker area.
Yeah.
Um, can we sell it? And a full length outer rocker takes 9 hours to be made. 9 hours
Is it
and
made
material.
made by hand?
It's made by hand. It's no, we fold only the sharp, the where you
The inside
when you
corners.
open it,
Hmm.
yeah, the sharp corners when you open the door, the sill.
Yeah.
This is what's made by a machine, but the rest is handmade, and so it's 9 hours. And with the regular labor rate, you could never sell it. You
Sure.
could never. So it's a hobby. I bought NOS paddles for a couple thousand, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
We made the bucks for a couple thousand, and now we're making these pedals for less than half of our regular labor rate,
Yeah.
just to help making these beautiful cars better.
Yeah.
And I get pictures. I always tell people, send me pictures, and I send you a quote. I'm shipping it everywhere. It's not a big number, right? But we're shipping it to Asia, to New Zealand, a lot to the US, a lot to the UK, a lot to the Benelux, uh, nothing to Germany, zero. Now I have a big order coming in, maybe from
Really?
Germany, but there's nothing. A lot to France, some to Poland, some to Czech. Um, it's going everywhere, and people are happy, but it's still a lot of money. But it's the closest you can get to a original panel because the shape, the thickness, and the quality is the same.
Yeah, I know that Andy said he was real happy with all the pieces that he got from you. So
Yeah, and it was on your car. It was not much. It was not much. I get pictures from cars. You ask yourself why people don't buy a better car.
right. So what is a full?
It's cars. I have no hope.
If if someone wants a full set of rockers, both sides, front, rear, the typical pieces that you make, what's that cost?
Inner, outer, and heater channel is like maybe 5,000 or so.
5,000.
Outer rocker is 900.
Mm-hmm.
The heater channel is like 400 maybe. Then the inner, the strengthener.
And the rear,
3,000, between 3 and 4,000, and the front piece, the S, what we're making, it's difficult, and we're still. I mean, I'm happy to help people, but on the other hand, we're losing time to work on other things. But but if sometimes I see them working with this bad sheet metal, you can buy and trying to save money. I mean, if you're doing this car for yourself, but mostly companies like Andy's, we have a lot of restoration shops buying the panels because they know exactly if I buy the panel, I save money for my customer.
Yeah, you save hours.
Not fabricating, not making shit better or turning this into gold or fabricating their own stuff. We still save a lot of money.
And so
people
that want to track down the panels, where do they go? Where do they go? They get it through BUG BOX, or do you have a different website for the panels?
I only we have a Facebook Razor Skin Type 34 repair panel or Type 34 panels, and Razor Skin is short version
RZSKN.
Razor Skin. So you'll find on Facebook, but I'm not doing a website because I'm running. It's simply running out of lifetime.
Yeah.
I can't. I sent them offers when they sent me pictures of what they have, and then we can help, and that's it. And I still have this NOS sheet metal because I have a very special razor coupe that I kept the sheet metal for, and now we came to a point where we said we're gonna. I always wanted to make it to restore it for one of my customers, and or to match this convertible in the one collection, but I feel like we're never getting to it. There's too many other things to do. It's the 9th oldest known coupe.
Wow.
So it's October 61, 9th oldest known, and I think this body number 113.
That's crazy.
A Swedish delivered car I bought as an accident,
Yeah.
Was online, so I drove to the other end of Germany and bought it. But it's sitting there for 3 years and nothing is happening. And I wanted to sell the car. I wanted to restore it for somebody with these NOS panels, but now I don't care.
Yeah.
Whoever is interested in, you cannot buy. If you want a first year very early Razor, where do you find one?
Yeah. Is it a complete car?
It has a wrong engine and it's painted the wrong color, and it's a complete car. But I always bought, or fairly complete. I always bought parts that were missing when I found them for 61, and you had the I think a podcast with Lee.
Yeah, with Lee about the seat
Yeah,
recliners, all that stuff's
yeah, yeah,
oddball.
yeah. So I'm whatever's missing, I'm trying to buy. And when Pedro did the interiors
Hmm.
for the Razors, I had him make an interior for this one, and we already have the interior because he's no longer doing it.
What color is
So
this car?
how it would be red and white roof.
White roof, huh?
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. That's how it was delivered. Now it's white,
Well,
complete white, but it doesn't matter. It's shitty anyway. So you need to do everything.
that's it. Well,
But I know,
Walter, you got a lot of stuff going on. We've covered a lot
there's
of it,
much more.
and I'm sure we got more. So we're gonna have to reschedule and we're gonna have to do another podcast, more detailed stuff about some other things specifically. But man, I definitely appreciate all the time you spent with us, and I'm sure it's put you a little bit.
It's been long, huh?
It is, but it's a lot of good information. So we might break it up into 2 episodes. But no, it's good stuff. A lot of good stuff out there. And it's good to see you've been in the hobby for a long time. You took a break for a little bit, but now that you're coming back in it, you're really able to work with people that you're not worried about the price. You're worried about the project, getting the project done to the best quality, which has got to be rewarding, because sometimes you'll never get to that point as a guy who likes to build cars. You know what I mean? And whether you're turning
That's
the
right.
bolts and spraying the paint yourself, or if you're contracting with really good quality people and then you're helping assemble and finalize the
When
car.
when you find out that, how do I put this? I mean, there's people out there having collections of cars and much more money, right?
Yeah.
But in the end, they're the same kids that we are,
Mm-hmm.
and they have the same imagination.
Yeah.
Uh, they have the money, and now they found. I have the feeling now finally they found somebody who understands what they want
Yeah.
and who has the ability to fulfill it, to make it,
No.
right? Because they can't. They don't know how to do it. And now this Walter guy shows up and so, oh, yeah, okay. Oh yeah, now I know who you are. You built the sand scorcher. Yeah, okay. We're like-minded. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
And then one project follows the next kind of automatically. At the
Yeah.
moment, we're doing a beach buggy, beach beetle, which was built by Sonauto in '61. It's like a Fiat Jolly as a Volkswagen in a Volkswagen Beetle.
Oh, I saw
Um,
that. I saw that.
yeah, it's very interesting car, but I think that's another story. But
Yeah.
but this is what I like to do because there's only one out there, and
Yeah.
who. And the good thing is nobody can tell me different, about
Right.
details. No, it's been like that, and in the end, it's a big story.
Well, Walter, we covered a lot of information, and we probably need to do another podcast coming up in the near future, I think. And any particular subject you want to do a deep dive into or talk about, whether it's going to be the Zwitters or some of the other custom Volkswagens you've been involved with, I think it would definitely be something we get a lot of information from.
Yeah, the custom part is good, and yeah, I mean, you've seen there's a lot of difference
Yeah.
between the European and American scene,
Oh, absolutely.
and I was involved in both worlds, but things that happened here were not that popular in the States. I think I had 2 or 3 cars featured in magazines in the US, but mostly here or in the UK. But it's always interesting, and there's some more projects we're working on and upcoming projects that I already know of.
Well,
Whatever you feel like, what we can do.
Well, when you have some of the stuff you got coming up, you're going to be wrapping up with just before you get it released. Let's do some podcasts specifically about some of the cars in the future that you're working on now or that you're completing, especially the convertible. Maybe we'll do something about the convertible when you're getting ready to get that car finished.
hmm
So,
All right.
Yeah. Walter, I
Yeah.
appreciate it. If people want to get in touch with you for Razor Skins, they can go on Facebook. It's
Yeah. Instagram, Facebook.
RZRSKN Type 34 panels on Facebook, and then also the Bug Box on Facebook and the Bug Box on Instagram as well, right? So,
All right. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on and all the time you spent with us. And I'm sure you've got some stuff you need to get back to work on.
Yeah. 100%. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, great talking to you. And I'm gonna be at the Bug-In at not the Bug-In. I'm gonna be at the Air Mighty show.
Yeah.
And
I'll be there.
I'll be at Viva Skeg Vegas. So
all right.
If you'll be at either of those, then I'll see you then, my friend.
Skeg Vegas not, because UK is getting more and more difficult to travel.
Yeah.
It's like we need the ESTA now. Like
oh, really?
Going to the US. And maybe I'm going to Goodwood but for the MIT show, yeah, 100%.
Well, perfect.
All right.
Well, I appreciate your time, brother.
And you're always welcome when you come over and you find time. Come here. We do something and
I would love to
check out.
That would be awesome. That would be great.
Take care.
Hey, thanks.
Bye-bye. And you.
Well, if you guys like that podcast, and I'm sure you did, make sure you share this podcast with your friends that are into the VW scene, as well as other enthusiasts that you think might get a kick out of this VW history. I love it. It's something that has become a huge passion of mine, and I'm glad to be able to bring these stories to you guys. And it's what makes this hobby so great. So if you want more content like this, make sure you go to our YouTube channel, check out Let's Talk Dubs on YouTube. Also go check out for some really cool tutorials on how to do maintenance repair on your vehicles. Go check out The Wagon, my brother's YouTube channel. Definitely a lot of cool stuff and information on there that you guys can glean from. And let's not forget one crazy weekend, October 2nd through the 4th, the Orleans Hotel and Casino. Go to letstalkdubs.com. Click on the Showtime link for more information. And don't miss the greatest VW event to date. One crazy weekend taking place in Las Vegas, October 2nd through the 4th. Poker run, strip cruise, car show, poker tournament, bowling tournament. When does it end? It never ends. It's a VW weekend jam-packed full of stuff. So until next week, guys, later.
You probably don't know that there's a new Volkswagen out that doesn't look like a Volkswagen.